Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. So good to see everybody. Come on in, and as you come in, please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. Today, I want to talk a little bit about some funny issues in terms of what's going on with our economy. I want to talk about the economics and hopefully give you some information that'll put some money in your pocket and some opportunity in your vision. Because the truth of the matter is that things are hard for people, and there are a lot of people that are struggling, and it's kind of unfortunate. I hate to see that because really what's going on is that you've been sold a bill of goods that is fundamentally incorrect. You've been told that going to school and getting a job is the best way for you to get ahead financially, and that's just not true. And something that triggered this thought for me today, and I'm going to give you some data that is going to help you understand why getting jobs is a losing wealth strategy. That literally finding your way to yet another broken opportunity or going down some other economic rabbit hole with nothing at the end of it, why that's not going to help you to find what you're looking for. And I just thought about this because I was explaining this to our kids. So I said, since I'm explaining to the kids, I'm explaining to anybody that wants to listen. So anyway, let me show you all what I was thinking about. What's up, Justin? And my name is Corey and Cam and Jones. Can y'all hear me? Let me know. Give me a quick yes if you can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me okay. Once I get the yes and the confirmation, then I'll know I can move forward in peace. We're traveling as a family. My wife's birthday weekend's coming up. We just had our third wedding anniversary, and also there was Mother's Day, and we had 8th grade graduation, and a couple of my goddaughters had birthdays. So this is a crazy month, and it ain't even done yet. It ain't even done. All right, so let me show you all something that I thought was really, really interesting, and I put it on my Twitter. My Twitter is Dr. Boyce Watkins, Dr. Boyce Watkins, and the number 1, Dr. Boyce Watkins 1. So I hope you'll follow me on Twitter because I'm gonna tell you the truth. I get tired of arguing with idiots. I just do. I don't even do it. I don't argue with idiots. I just teach them and share information, and hopefully they'll come out of their idiot status and learn how to listen and realize what's right in front of them. And what you should realize is right in front of you is that all your strategies when it comes to economics are not working. Your community is broken. Your community's become a little bit embarrassing in terms of us, what we're doing relative to what we could do. And I just don't have the patience for nonsense, to be honest with you. But let me show you all this, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. So here is what I put on Twitter. And let me know if y'all can see that. And if you're watching on Instagram, or sorry, not Instagram. I said Instagram. I would say if you're listening on Spotify, you're just gonna hear this, but I'll describe what's on the screen. So what I put up on the screen just now from my Twitter account, Dr. Boyce Watkins 1, is this cover on Time Magazine. You can see here it says it has a white woman, and it says, "I have a master's degree, 16 years of experience, work 2 extra jobs, and donate plasma to pay the bills. I am a teacher in America." So let's decompose this. Okay. Y'all know me. I like to really break things down. That's why I call it the Dr. Boyce breakdown, because I like to break things down and challenge you to think a little bit. Because if you don't start thinking, then the people that are thinking are going to eat you up. If you don't heighten your economic consciousness, the people that are conscious and aware are going to chew you up and spit you out. And it's just going to suck. So let me dissect this. I'm gonna literally break this down line for line. This is a cover on Time Magazine. I don't know what episode or issue this was. I do know that there are stories out there like this, and I want to kind of address some of this. So let's read it slowly. I have a master's degree. Now let's think about master's degree. Master's degree takes you 4 years of college plus 2 years of grad school. That's 6 years of school. 6 years. Okay, so if you think about that just in terms of like a 40-hour work week, if you take 40 hours a week and you do that for a year, that's 2,000 hours a year of work. 2,000 hours a year times 6, that's 12,000 hours of labor. So 12,000 hours of hard work to get the master's degree. Okay, so let me write that down, 12,000 hours. So if you value that time at, say, even $10 an hour, that's $120,000. But most people make more than 10. Let's triple that. Let's say $360,000. So, and that doesn't even include the cost of tuition. If you throw in the cost of tuition to get this master's degree, this poor woman may have spent, let's say, I don't know, let's be nice. Let's say it's another $140,000 because college plus a master's degree would cost about that much. You're lucky if you spend that much. So process this. Pay attention now. I want y'all to listen. That's about $500,000 worth of human capital, time, labor, energy, wealth that was applied to achieving this goal. Follow. Give me a yes if you follow me. I don't want to talk too fast because I want you to get the point. Let me know if you're following the logic here. Are y'all hearing me? Are y'all getting what I'm saying? Okay. So, all right. So as we talk about this $500,000 investment, let's keep going. She's not done yet. What else did she say? She said, I have 16 years of experience. Lord Jesus, that's beautiful, right? 16 years. Okay, so let's do more math. Let's remember 2,000 hours a year. That's 16 years. That's 32,000 hours. And if you value the 32,000 hours at the rate we talked about earlier, about $30 an hour, let's see, 32,000, 320,000 times 10. That's about, let's round it up to a cool million. It's about 960,000. So pay attention now. So that's $1 million worth of effort plus $500,000 put into getting the education. So there's $500,000 worth of effort put in to get the education, another $1 million worth of effort to become this highly trained person that she is. I mean, she is 16 years. I mean, shit, that's great. That's beautiful, right? All right, and then what else? She also says that she works 2 extra jobs, so she's not working 40 hours a week. Give me a yes or no. How many of y'all think that if she's working 2 extra jobs on top of being a teacher, how many of you think that she's working, more than 40 hours a week? How many of you think that give me a guess if you would agree with me that my estimate of 40 hours a week is conservative, if that is a conservative estimate of the number of hours that this hardworking woman is putting into being successful. What do y'all think? Yes or no? You agree with me? Or am I blowing smoke up your butt? Am I making stuff up? Thank you, Sherman. Sherman says 60 hours. I tend to agree with you, Sherman. I'm thinking at least 60 hours. I think this poor lady's been busting her butt. I think that she's been just grinding like crazy. And she's not young. She's not old. But she's kind of, she looks like she might be, if you got 16 years of experience, that probably means you're at least 40, maybe 45. So she's dedicated a chunk of her life. She's middle age now. She's this half of her life dedicated to something. What is that? What is she dedicated to? Let's say it's the American dream or something. And then also on top of that, she's giving plasma, which I don't know the health effects of giving all your plasma away and stuff, but whatever. Okay, that's just an add-on. All right, now here's what I want y'all to understand. And I'm gonna just tell you, I'm not the right guy I'm not the right messenger for this because what happens is that I when I see a solvable problem that we're not solving, I get a little frustrated. I get a little angry when I see us trying to solve a problem with the same tactics that never worked in the first place. I get a little frustrated. I'm not gonna lie, and I get I'll get in there and I'll make a comment on shade room or something, and have people mad at me because I really kind of, because I see this a lot. I really do. And the curse of knowing finance the way I know it. I've been a finance professor for a long time. I've been teaching for 30 years pretty much. I know what wasted effort looks like, right? And so here's where I'm going to go with this. Here's where I'm going with this. This is really indicative of our society. What this lady said. Now, most people are not in as bad shape as her, but it's pretty bad. I mean, she's donating the plasma to pay the bills. There are lots of people in America that are in economic trouble, that are struggling. And a lot of it's because you get sold a false bill of goods. You get sold a lie. You get sold a method of success that simply does not work. And this lady is, to me, exemplifies that, because I just showed you mathematically how she put in approximately, arguably, $1.5 million worth of investment into a business, the business called Her Life, that is failing. It's a struggling business. If you invest 1.5 million, say in the S&P 500, and you do that over the same number of time that she spent going to school and going to work and donating plasma and working 2 jobs, you're gonna have $10 million, right? You're gonna have a lot more. Now, arguably, obviously, right? She couldn't have done that when she was younger. So I'm not saying that was an easy option. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that the whole get the education and go to work model does not work. And in fact, I'm gonna read some statistics to you about what college graduates are going through that will help you understand my point a little more clearly. And before I do that, I'd like to ask you all if you could do me a favor. Please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and if you're interested in things like Black Wealth, we actually have a Black Wealth Mastery store where I literally have put books like my book, Financial Lovemaking, my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. My wife is a therapist. She helped us in the Black Business School to create our first ever Black financial therapy department. It's the first one ever created. There's not one anywhere. because what we're trying to really study and understand in our think tank is why we keep doing the same thing over and over again. What's really going on that's causing us to believe something that is simply unbelievable. And I've gone on a lot of different shows to try to express this idea, shows like The Breakfast Club and stuff like that. And it's really, really hard because there are a lot of you that get it. I go places and we have packed out arenas and everything else, and we have lots of people that are hearing this, but there are other messages that are so much louder that are just the wrong messages. And I want you to understand that that being black means, in my view, that there are people that have a vested interest in making sure that you hear the wrong message. There are people out there that have a vested interest in making sure that you're always behind. In fact, I'll tell you this. I'm going to tell you something that just happened to me not too long ago. I had some people really mad at me. I made a little comment on this Shade Room post. They had Kai Cenat and Kevin Hart, and they were doing something together. I think Kevin went to Kai's YouTube channel or whatever it is, and I really kind of had an issue with that. I kind of thought about that, and I said, gosh, it's like this intergenerational thing. These two guys, even they look alike, they kind of act alike, and it's like this sort of intergenerational thing, right? Where you got kind of these guys that are really, really funny, but it seems like we have this oversupply of very unserious black men. Like like I went to Elon Musk's page, right? Who's one of the most famous white men in America, and Elon is a racist, and I don't like him that much. And he made a comment about some really exclusive, rare element in the universe that takes like 10 billion or 14 billion years to decay. And I thought that was so cool that he gets to be smart in public, and there aren't people, and his people appreciate that. Like, they appreciate smart stuff. They appreciate wanting to learn about how the world works. They appreciate, building an automobile manufacturing facility, solving problems with the environment or whatever. Whereas it seems to me that sometimes, and again, I'm going to make some people mad when I say this, and I cannot apologize for this, but it's like every time I turn around and I see famous black males, we're not famous for being the smartest people in the room. We're typically famous for being the dumbest. We're typically famous for being funny. We're famous for being athletic. We're famous for being rappers. And that's okay. It's okay to be a rapper. It's okay to be a comedian. It's okay to be an athlete. But I don't really think that the most famous, most successful men in our community should be clowns. And why do I say that? Am I just trying to be a hater? No, here's why it's a problem. It's because it's designed that way. It's designed that way. America doesn't want to hear from smart black people. They want to hear from the clowns. They want to hear from the rappers. They want to hear from the people that don't necessarily want to think. And when people got mad at me, they said, Unc, you sound old fashioned. Unc, you just hating, Unc, and whatever. I said, well, let me tell you something. I said, let Unc tell you something right quick. Let Unc break it down for you. Why they playing your little dumb ass? Here's why they playing your little silly ass. I said, look at your community. Look at your community right now. And let me know if you're following any of this. I said, look at your community right now. I said, you have the goofiest, most unserious people in your community with the biggest platforms. They're not doing serious things. I said, the most famous white men in the world are known for building billion-dollar tech companies. They're worth $100 billion each because they are developing artificial intelligence and technologies that are changing the world. They're building rocket ships to Mars. They're solving important problems. Your most famous people, your most famous men are men like Diddy, who's known for dancing like a teenager till the age of 50. Or Kevin Hart and Kai Cenat, guys that are just funny. And it's okay. You need your comedians, but your comedians should not be the leaders of your community. The rappers should not be the leaders of the black community, because you got too many problems. I said, look at your community. Thank you, Calvin. That's a great term, shucking and jiving. I said, look at your community. Your community is falling apart because the men that they're choosing to lead the community are not leaders at all. They're not thinking about how to use their power and their platform for the benefit of the community. They're not thinking like, how do we solve important problems? How do we build more schools? How do we create more jobs? How do we develop more manufacturing facilities? How do we build a company that can compete with Tesla? They're not thinking that. And I said, and you see the evidence everywhere. Tell me if you agree with this. Tell me if you agree with this. The black family is in absolute shambles. Black families are just broken into little tiny microscopic pieces, and the pieces are filled with crap, and the poor children are grown up traumatized as hell because the people that are supposed to be guiding them and leading them are so messed up that they can't lead themselves. Tell me if you agree with this. Educationally speaking, black children get the worst education known to man. You literally mass produce, the public school system mass produces millions of black kids who are 18 years old who can't read at the level of a fourth grader. How does that happen? Well, it's because your men are not leaders. Your men are off telling jokes. You funny dog. And then they go to the club and get bottles of Ciroc and they dancing and they clowning and cooning and shucking and jiving. And this is what y'all paying attention to. Did y'all see that Club Shay Shay interview with the comedians, y'all? What, y'all, that was good, y'all. No, that's reflected in your community. You look around your community, the families are shit. Your women are not protected. Your children are not being educated, nor are they being loved or guided. Your wealth is falling in the toilet. Your wealth is going backward. And this is not anti-entertainer or anti-athlete. I mean, there was a time where you had entertainers and athletes who got serious. Anybody remember this? How many of y'all remember the picture that's right here on this page? Anybody seen this picture before? What picture is that? Tell me what's on that screen right there. Y'all see that? Y'all see those serious black men? Now, these are all athletes. Muhammad Ali, Bill Russell, Jim Brown, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And these men showed up ready for business. They were ready to handle business. They said, we are the biggest, strongest, baddest dudes out here, and we are the leaders. We are getting the most attention, and we're going to stand up, and we're going to do something meaningful with our power. Now, remember this. Remember, back in the day, you had O.J. Simpson that same year. And O.J., when they asked O.J. to participate, O.J. said, I'm not black, I'm O.J. He was the clown of the time. He was the guy that made white folks happy and comfortable. And you saw what happened. They strung his butt up. As soon as they did him like Diddy. As soon as he messed up and did something, or was in the wrong place, wrong time, I don't know, whatever you believe, they reminded him of exactly who he was, just like they're doing with Diddy. So at the end of the day, what I will say to you all is that you're really kind of in this awkward situation where not only are you living in an economy that is not built to sustain and support the average American worker, you're also living in a world where the black community gets taken for a massive rope-a-dope. You kind of live in a world where you're taught that as a black man, your most important job is to kind of just sort of be this clownish guy who makes lots of money by making white people happy and comfortable. And then you're all the while your community is not benefiting. You're not building infrastructure. You're not developing schools. You're not building businesses that are capable of employing more than maybe 20 or 30 people. You're not developing the kinds of things that are going to sustain and elevate a community. So there's nothing wrong with necessarily being a comedian. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that comedians should not be leading a community. You need people that can create jobs. You need people that can build schools. You need people that are going to guide you in a direction that's going to make you better. And I don't know if we're getting that. I think that people get mad at me. They hate on me when I say it. And I get a lot of heat. But you know what? I can't back down. I'm not going to back down because God is telling me that you're full of crap with this nonsense. That if you believe that what we're doing and where we're going as a community is the right direction, I ain't got nothing for you. I can't help you. I cannot help you. Now do me a favor. Hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. You're watching drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. And I don't just talk about the problem. I want to solve the problem. In the Black Business School, every single morning, as a finance professor, my goal is to help you become economically aware. So we have what we call economic awareness training that we do every morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. It's 100% free. You don't have to pay money, just pay attention. And we do this every single day in a private Zoom. And so if that's your thing and you're interested in joining us, just pull out your phone, text the word morning, MORNING, to 87948. And if you text morning to 87948, I will send you an invitation. We will meet tomorrow morning because we do this every day, every single day, 7 days a week. And also, as I mentioned earlier, we have books and all kinds of materials and tools and flashcards for kids, financial flashcards, all that. Feel free to go to drboycebooks.com to take a look if you'd like to be a part of that. Okay, so we got all the resources. We're building a university. It's hard. We don't have all the money that we'd like to have. But we have raised a few $1 million, and we poured all that right back into building the infrastructure that a lot of these entertainers won't build. And of course, that makes me a very dangerous black man, apparently, in the eyes of people who would rather see a black man as a thug or a comedian than to see a black man show up as a thinker and as someone who actually gets things done. And so anyway, let me get back to this. Okay, so we were talking earlier about this lady who who had the whole master's degree, 16 years of experience. She was working two jobs, and she still was basically on pretty much almost on welfare. Like, she was really in a position financially where she can't pay the bills. And really, that's an unfortunate reality about America. I mean, at the end of the day, we treat our teachers like crap. We treat our soldiers like crap. The people in the community that are really getting the work done, again, the teachers and the soldiers and the thinkers and the parents and the activists and the people that are really guiding our people to a better place, the husbands and wives and fathers and mothers. These are the individuals that don't get the support that they deserve. And one of the things I just truly believe is that all this is by design. I think that we have a society that's designed to keep the most backward thinking people at the front of the bus, because they'll drive the bus backward. Why? Well, because you're a backward Negro. Backward Negroes drive the bus backward. Their job is not to move it forward. So if your biggest black leaders and your most visible black people, are comedians, well, then you're going to be a joke. Your community is going to be a joke. Why? Well, because your leader's a comedian. So comedians make you laugh, and there's a long history of a very non-threatening, comedy-like black men being put at the top of the food chain, being seen, by everybody, getting lots of money to be goofballs, and absolutely no progress gets made out of that. There's no improvement in our educational system. There's no infrastructure being built. There's no jobs being created. Families are not stronger. It's just kind of this intergenerational phenomenon. Now, one of the things I want to mention also, though, that you really want to understand is that there is a way to kind of analyze what's happening to all Americans as it pertains to what a college degree does for you and what it does not do for you. College degrees, are something that when we felt like we were being progressive, we really pursued education at the highest levels, and we still do. I think there's nothing wrong with going to college. I taught on many college campuses: University of Kentucky, Indiana University, etc. And I love going to college campuses. My wife and I, every year, we go back to Indiana University where I met her. And I tell guys, I kind of mess with them. I say, if you're looking for a good wife, you ain't gonna typically find your best wife in the club. I said, I found my wife in the library, and I got a great wife. And because somebody wrote something on there where they said, I can't find a woman who looks good, who can cook and who can clean, who can throw down in the bedroom and all these other things, right? And I said, you know what? Then I must have hit the lottery. I said, but the truth of the matter is that my wife was not the first black woman I met who had those criteria. There's lots of amazing black women in the world. And I just think that if you're looking for these women, in the strip clubs, then you're not going to really find that. You might find somebody that's a professional twerker, or they might be good in the bedroom, but I don't know if they're going to have all the skills that are required to be a complete black woman. But anyway, so education, I think, is very important. I'm a big fan of it, but the cost of college attendance has gotten way too high. And let me give you a few little statistics to help you understand why college degrees have just started kicking people in the butt, and why you want to be really careful with college degrees. Number one is student loan debt. The average student loan debt for the class of 2022 was $37,000. It was only $20,000 back in the year 2000. Also, according to the Economic Policy Institute, inflation-adjusted wages for young college graduates have only increased by 0.8% between 2000 and 2020. Did y'all hear that? That literally over a 20-year period, the wages of college graduates adjusted for inflation has only increased by 0.8%. Did y'all hear that? Give me a yes if you followed that. I want to say that slow so y'all understand that. Now, let me ask y'all this. So the wages, the inflation-adjusted wages for young college graduates have only increased by 0.8%. Do you think that over a 20-year period, the cost of living only went up by 0.8%? What do y'all think? Do you think that 0.8% increase over a 20-year period is good? Did y'all hear? Are y'all hearing this? So it basically says that as a college graduate in 2024, you're not making that much more than your mother did when she graduated in 2020 or 1998. You're not. So how in the hell can we see a statistic like this and somehow still believe that the whole go to school and get a good job path is the best approach? I mean, what makes me sad about it is that I know how hard it is to be a good teacher. God bless the best teachers in our world. I mean, teachers are just some of the most amazing, important, transformative human beings in our society. Teachers, I mean, and nowadays these kids are crazy. They come into school with guns, ready to fight because their mama and their daddy ain't doing a good job. The daddy's on crack, mama's on heroin, and they come into school ready to fight the teacher and all that. And so God bless all the teachers that put up with that. I mean, I think that you are a gift from God. You are more important to the black community than any athlete, any rapper, or any comedian will ever be. And I think you deserve to be paid for that. So it makes me sad to hear that teachers and people that are doing these really important jobs are not getting what they deserve in terms of pay. And where I come in, and again, this sometimes it offends people, but I don't care about that. I want to offend you because your ass needs to be offended by the way you've been treated. You need to be offended by the fact that your community's following behind every generation. You need to be offended by the fact that your families are falling apart. You need to be offended by the fact that you're getting laughed at by the rest of the world. You need to be offended by the fact that nobody on the planet, there's no community anywhere on earth that says, oh my gosh, I woke up this morning, I prayed that my daughter would get pregnant by a black man. How many Indian families or Asian families or African families do you think that sit around and say, man, if my daughter has a baby with an African American male, that child's really going to be well off? What do y'all think? Do you think that they say that? Or do you think that they say, oh no, do not get pregnant by an African American man. They will abandon the baby. Anybody ever heard that stereotype? Remember when Ice Cube said, this is what they think about you. This is what they think about you. That's what they think about you. And the reason those stereotypes bother me is because I know guys who fulfill those stereotypes. That's one reason it bothers me. Another reason it bothers me is because I know a lot of guys who don't fulfill the stereotypes and they don't get the attention they deserve. They don't get honored by society. They don't put those black men on TV. They want to put the buffoons on TV. And I personally think that that shows a significant lack of balance. But if you understand Dr. Claude Anderson the way I do in his books, like Black Labor, White Wealth, you'll know that there's a history to this. There's a history of making black people look ridiculous. There's a history of promoting backward thinking in their community. So really, what I would say to you is that the solution is going to have to come from you. And ultimately, when you're talking about solutions, there's no way around basic things like entrepreneurship. There's no way around things like investing. Every kid's going to have to invest, especially with some of our people and the way they see the shiny Negroes on TV, the rappers and everything else, and they want to dress like the rappers and they want to have the Gucci this and the Prada that and the fancy this and the fancy that. Well, all that stuff costs money. There's nothing wrong with wanting nice stuff, but if you want nice stuff, you have to have a financial plan. If you want nice stuff and you don't position yourself to be able to afford it, then you're eventually going to have to do something illegal or unethical in order to obtain it. So what happens in the black community in many cases is that a lot of our young people have significant financial addictions. They're addicted to the Louis, they're addicted to the Gucci, they're addicted to the Prada, they're addicted to the jewelry, they're addicted to the Benz, they're addicted to whatever, right? You saw kids, did you see that? I talked about this yesterday. You see kids going to the prom that literally look like they are born in Indian or African royalty or something. Like they're showing to the prom, spending $10,000-$20,000 on the prom, pulling up in Benzes and Bentleys and everything else, and it's all a costume party. It's all fake. It's all fake because 9 times out of 10 you can't afford it. 9 times out of 10 you're going in debt to have it. 9 times out of 10 you're just trying to keep up with your friends. 9 times out of 10 you are using financial extravagance as a way to cover up extreme insecurities. 9 times out of 10 you act this way because you think that that's the culture. And my question that I ask you, the question that's going to get on your nerves, is I say, well, who created that culture? Where'd that culture come from? Well, that's what the rappers do. Well, who put the rappers on TV? Probably the record labels. Or who runs the record labels? It ain't us. Who runs the TV networks? It ain't us. And the people that are putting these images into the media, the people that are putting these guys on TV that you look up to, they don't put their own children out there like that. They don't have their own kids looking like you. It's just you. It's your thing, right? So ultimately, if you have this much materialism, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having nice stuff. I have a luxury car. My wife has a luxury car. But at the same time, we also have a work ethic that is consistent with being able to obtain a luxury car. In addition to having the luxury car, my wife has a PhD. She spent many, many years in school studying 8 hours a day so she could be successful. That's what I had to do. I had to study 7, 8 hours a day for almost a decade to get my PhD in finance. They didn't give me that. It wasn't I didn't get it through some weekend program. I'm not a veneer tech. Right? You saw the veneer techs, right? And I think that sometimes what can occur is that you have this weird disconnect. What entertainment kind of does is it creates this weird disconnect between work ethic and success. It makes a 25-year-old think that you're supposed to live like a rich 45-year-old by the time you're 26. And I just really think that that's a dangerous trap to fall into, especially when all the skills that you're given to obtain that are the wrong skills anyway. Now, what I'm going to do actually is instead of just talking about the problem, I'm going to give you some solutions. If you could, please do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. If you'd like to learn how to make money without working, I teach stock options and all kinds of stuff, things that I really think everybody should understand. I think kids should learn this stuff. I really wish every child understood stock options because it would really change your life. I'm training our 17-year-old on stock options now because I told her we're in LA and I said, I'm going to take you to Rodeo Drive, but I'll take you as long as you will let me show you some things that will allow you to afford stuff on Rodeo Drive. So if you'd like to take advantage of a free training that I have that everyone loves called How to Make Money Without Working, just text the word money to the number 87948. You could text money to 87948. And another way you could take a look at what we do with stock options is you can go to drboyceprime.com. Prime stands for Passive Recurring Income Machine. So feel free to go to drboyceprime.com. You can take a look. All right, so let's finish this up. Let's finish this conversation because I don't want to sit on here ranting all day. Even though y'all know me, I get mad about this stuff and I end up just kind of going off. And I apologize if I sound that way. Just chalk it up to a frustrated person who sees a solution that isn't being applied. So there's a lot of financial stress out here. A lot of people are worried about how to pay the bills. A lot of people are mad because their college degree did not pay off the way they wanted it to. Other statistics that you should pay attention to are the following. In 2020, the unemployment rate for recent college graduates was 6.8%. compared to the overall unemployment rate of 3.5%. So literally all the college graduates ages 22 to 27. I didn't say that part. So young college graduates had an unemployment rate that was nearly twice as high as the overall unemployment rate. So everybody that went to school and got the master's degrees and the bachelor's degrees and all that, they had a pretty high unemployment rate, and many of them were underemployed. Nearly 41%. That's almost half. 41% of recent college graduates are working in jobs that do not require a degree, leading to lower earnings and job satisfaction. How many of y'all seen that? How many of y'all seen somebody that basically says, I'm not working in the field that I got my degree? How many of y'all know somebody who's like that? Some of y'all may have friends that are like that, who are working in a field that ain't got nothing to do with their degree, and you're kind of questioning life. You're kind of questioning what you were taught, right? You have questions. I assume you have questions. If you're smart and you're a thinker and you are an intelligent person, you're probably wondering, you're looking around, you're like, what the hell is this, man? This is BS. Right. And I can tell you again, my PhD, my expertise is finance. Right. So as a financial expert, I can tell you exactly what's happening. What's happening is that college degrees are not giving you what they used to give you. Also, this economy is not loyal to you. This economy, these corporations are not going to keep you employed. They don't care about you. They'll fire you at the drop of a hat. They'll get you to overcommit to a particular career path. And next thing you know, they'll swoop you out of there. Artificial intelligence is here. 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 Artificial intelligence is going to get millions of people fired. You know why? You know why? Because in capitalism, the people that control the capital at the top, they absolutely hate workers. Do y'all know that? I mean, they really don't like work. It's really an inconvenient partnership. It's a marriage of convenience, if you will. It's just, you know how people get married just strictly for the money. They hate dealing with workers. They hate dealing with labor unions. That's why they busted up all the unions. I'm pro union, but they're not. They hate dealing with people complaining like, oh, you pay me $100,000, but you have me working really hard, and my OSHA, I'm calling OSHA and the whoever because you had me working too many hours and wouldn't let me go to the bathroom. Right? Amazon companies like Amazon don't want to hear that, and I'm not saying it's right. I think it's wrong. I think it's terrible. But that's what it is, right? So companies that these white boys that are running the tech companies, the Jeff Bezoses and stuff like that, they can't wait to get you out of there. Do you know that's why Amazon buys thousands of robots every day? They're buying thousands of robots every day. And in China, I think China has half of all the robots on the planet. And so they're trying to automate, man. That's what I'm saying. The way, like even in China where there's a lot more unity and stuff like that, they hate workers too. And they literally have half of all the robots on the planet. And their number one economic strategy to bring their economy back is automation. Well, automation means getting your ass out of there. It means not depending on a human being to run your factory. You get robots to do it. NVIDIA is showing people, y'all need to pay attention to this stuff. I hope you are. NVIDIA recently, the CEO of NVIDIA, Jensen Huang, I think that's his name. Gosh. Yeah, he's worth about $90 billion now because NVIDIA stock has gone up so much. And Jensen Huang literally was explaining how you could like build a factory and then build the robots in the factory with AI and then have the robots in the factory build the rest of the factory or something. It was something weird where literally he was talking about how you could build whole entire factories and everything without even having a human being involved on hardly any level because AI is so good. So what I'm just telling you is that this is what's coming. This is not going away. This is going to happen. So people who live with their heads in the sand are going to get killed. They're going to get just buried. It's going to be painful. It's going to be sad to watch. Those of us in our community who are trained to be a day late and a dollar short are going to be completely, totally left behind. That's the only way I can say it and be honest with you. If you have a community that prides itself on ignorance or prides itself on how the men hate the women and the women hate the men, or pride with broken families and your kids are being abandoned the entire process, or prides itself on economic habits that are anti-wealth, like overspending your money, not investing, not saving, not thinking about the future. I don't really see how a community like that is able to really survive. And what I really think is going to happen is that there's going to be a class of people that are going to get stuck in the underbelly of our society, and they're going to end up filling up the penitentiaries again. You know, Joe Biden did that back in the 1990s. That's why I don't vote for this man. And I don't like Donald Trump either. I never put him on a pedestal. I've known about Trump for 30 something years. Never liked him either. And I think that at some point, that's what you're going to see. I think that you're going to have scenarios where people have no choice but to resort to crime, and then they're going to say the crime's out of control, and then they're going to elect somebody who's going to do what the president of Ecuador did. I think it was Ecuador, where they had such a bad gang problem and crime problem that he literally went through and pretty much did almost like a type of extermination, if you will. Like he kind of went through and just literally said anybody who is in a gang or affiliated on any level is going to prison. And a lot of people are happy about it because it cleaned up the streets, but a lot of people, it was El Salvador. I said El Salvador. I said Ecuador. I meant to say El Salvador. I believe it was El Salvador. Go look that up. So I kind of just really think that it's important to kind of know what's coming down the pike. And artificial intelligence for sure is coming down the pike. Another stat that tells you how college graduates are kind of getting their butts kicked is it says here that the cost of living has increased significantly. Housing prices have risen 54% just from 2012 to 2024, and they've gone up even since then. And entry-level salaries have not kept pace. So a lot of young people that graduate from college are already behind in the economy because they don't have any assets to begin with, and the cost of everything's going up. So in a way, if you think about the highway of wealth being like a highway ramp, imagine if you're in a car driving next to that highway and you want to get on that highway, but there's no ramp to get on the highway. That's the problem. And so one of the reasons that we created things in the Black Business School, like the Black Wealth Master Plan, which I'll put the URL up here if you guys want to go take a look, is because basically what you have to do, in my opinion, is if you want your children to avoid the pain of what's coming, you have to get them ready now. Like when you got that little baby next to you, you got to start thinking about their economic plan today, so that in 20 years, you'll have enough time to grow the wealth that is required to liberate them. Also, the Black Wealth Master Plan is very, very simple. It says every Black child should be taught to how to start a business by the age of 12. If that teacher, with all that experience and all that education and all that skill, knew how to start a little side hustle that made her an extra $2,000 a month, she wouldn't be on the cover of a magazine talking about how broke she is. Do you understand what I'm saying? It doesn't take a lot to change your economic fate. It just takes that little ability to make a little bit of money. And one of the ways that they trap you is they get you to believe this ridiculous myth that as long as you know how to do your job, you're going to be okay. As long as you're the most important shift nurse, you know, that in the hospital. Are you the best? You're the only person in the factory that knows how to work this blah 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 machine, right? And you start to get this false sense of security because you really think you can't be replaced, and that's just not true. Like I kind of want you to just understand that you always have to have a plan B and a plan C and a plan D. Right. So what does that look like? Let's go back here. Let me show you all this picture again. And this was the premise of why I even did this podcast episode. And by the way, I'm on Spotify. So if you look up the Dr. Boyce breakdown on Spotify and Apple, you can find it there as well, in case you want to listen in your car. So listen to this. We'll read this again. I want you to read this. And then I want you to think about what you see, but then I want to tell you what I see, okay? What I see as a finance professor. And this is on my Twitter. My Twitter is Dr. Boyce Watkins and the number 1. Please follow me on Twitter. Please follow me on Twitter. I need y'all to follow me on Twitter and Instagram because I'm blocking the idiots. When people come in, they're stupid and corny and goofy. I had more patience when I was like 40 than I did when I was 50. I just don't have the patience anymore. So follow so we can have intelligent, important conversations. I don't want to be around stupid people. I just don't enjoy that very much. So and my Instagram is Dr. Boyce Finance, Dr. Boyce Finance, and I have a backup Instagram at Dr. Boyce Money. As you guys know, when you talk like I talk, it makes you kind of dangerous. So I had 600,000 followers on Instagram. They completely deleted that page. I don't know where it went. Now I have about 100,000. I had to start over again. And then I had another 600,000 pages of people on a Facebook page, and they deleted that one for no reason. And so literally this happens, and I probably shadow banned on YouTube. So if you follow me on multiple platforms, that'll give us a chance to make sure we're connected. One thing I got to warn you guys about, though, is that there are a lot of scammer pages that use my name. So if you see Boyce Watkins creeping in your DM, trying to sell you some Bitcoin or offer you some sex on the weekend or something like that, just know that ain't me. I don't creep in people's DMs. The only DM I creep in is my wife. And so just be mindful, because one lady told me she lost $200,000 from one of these scammer type people. And it just really breaks my heart. And I don't want that to happen to you. So please be careful. All right. So anyway, let me read this to you. And then we're going to dissect this. It says, I have a master's degree, 16 years of experience. I work 2 extra jobs and donate blood plasma to pay the bills. I'm a teacher in America. So what she's basically saying is that with the master's degree, the 16 years of experience, the hard work with 2 extra jobs, she still doesn't have enough money. Now, here's what I want you to answer for me. I like to do these consciousness exercises. This is what we do in financial consciousness training every morning, by the way, is we're going to do a quick consciousness exercise. I'm going to ask you some simple questions. You're going to give me simple answers, and then it's going to lead us to the conclusion. So I want you to answer this for me. Does this lady have skill? Is she a skilled person? Is she a person who has acquired what should be a necessary amount of skill for her to be considered a successful person? Like, would you agree? She's got a master's degree. She achieved the educational dream. Most people don't have a master's degree. 16 years of experience, right? How many of y'all would agree that this lady is accomplished educationally and in terms of skill? Put a yes in the chat. Okay. Now, as you put your yeses in, I'm going to ask you another question. Simple question. Is this a hardworking woman? Would you agree that this teacher who works 2 extra jobs with her master's degree and 16 years of experience is a hardworking person? Would you agree? Give me a yes. Okay, so here's what I want you to process with me for a minute. I'm gonna go kind of deep on you, but I hope you can get the point here. So here you have a person who has all the skill and she's working very hard. So why is she not successful? Why does she not have enough money? Like, what is going on here? I mean, she's very successful. She just ain't got no money. She's got a lot of wealth. She just ain't got no money. Well, where's her wealth, Boyce? Well, her wealth is in her human capital, which is her education. They call that human capital. Her wealth is 16 years of experience. Lord, that's impressive, right? Her wealth is in her work ethic. That's amazing. So here's what I see, right? I see a person who has all the momentum required to be a very successful person in this society or any other. There's no reason why a lady like this should be broke, right? So the question you have to ask yourself is, if you got all this skill and you've been working this hard and you've been disciplined and you ain't breaking the law, you ain't doing nothing stupid, why are you struggling like this? What happened? What happened? Well, look at it like this. Imagine if I am a football player and I weigh 350 pounds and I run the 40-yard dash as fast as Deion Sanders. And in case you don't know, Deion Sanders was one of the fastest sprinters in the history of the NFL. For a while, I think he had the fastest 40-yard dash in the league or something like that. So I run the 40-yard dash in 4.2 seconds, and I weigh 350 pounds. So I am a bull. I'm an amazing prospect. I'm a great player. So what would have to happen for me to go on the field and to be that big and that fast, but for me to still lose the game? Like, what if every game I played in, I still lost the game? Well, it wouldn't be because I'm not big enough and fast enough. It might be because I was aiming for the wrong target or I was using my skill in the wrong way, right? Like if every time they tell me to go tackle the running back, I run and I tackle the defensive back, or they tell me to go tackle the other team and I tackle my own player, or whatever it is, or they tell me to run to the end zone in the north and I run to the end zone in the south. Guess what? I'm going to be running real fast, real hard in the wrong direction. Or if I have a big machine gun with 90 caliber bullets, I don't know calibers, so don't make fun of me. But I've got a big fat machine gun with the strongest bullets in the world, and I'm shooting like crazy, but I'm hitting the wrong target, then it doesn't matter how many bullets I had in my gun. It doesn't matter how many times I shoot it. It doesn't matter how powerful my gun is because I'm aiming the gun in the wrong direction. Do you understand? Do you follow what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying? So let me explain this further. Let me make sure I take this all the way home. It doesn't matter if you have all the right skill and you're putting in all the hard work if all of your work is being put in the wrong direction, if it's being put toward the wrong things. Like if I have a super fast, high powered sports car and I drive 3,000 miles in the wrong direction, then I would have been better off without a car at all. I should have just walked. Somebody on a 10-speed bike could make more progress than I made because I've been going 120 miles an hour in the wrong direction. So this is my point. When I look at this lady, I say, man, you put 1.5 million. Remember at the beginning, we calculated financially the financial value of 16 years of experience and a master's degree. That was about $1.5 million worth of capital that was applied in a way where she still finds herself broke and without income and without assets. That tells me that something went wrong in terms of the application of her capital. She managed it the wrong way. Just like you run a business, when you run a business, you got to manage it a certain way to make it work. If you manage it incorrectly, it's going to fail. Suge Knight mismanaged Death Row Records. That's why Death Row Records died. Even my friend Jay Morrison mismanaged the Tulsa Real Estate Fund. Apparently something went wrong because you had the millions of dollars and it didn't quite work out. Or you look at other corporations that have failed. You look at opportunity. DMX mismanaged his extraordinary talent where he should have been a billionaire like Jay-Z, but instead he ended up dying as a crackhead in his mid-40s, right? So when you have something great, when God blesses you with something powerful and you have a great opportunity and you put work into building that opportunity up, if you mismanage that, if you misdirect the energy, then it'll be just like you never had it before. It'll be just like you never had it. So here's what I argue. I argue that for Black people, let's talk about us. I believe that we mismanage our collective energy. If this woman, she's not even Black, so I'm using this lady as an example, but I don't know if she's Black. Maybe she's Hispanic or something, or but Black people can be light skinned too. So whatever. My wife is light skinned. I would probably say to her, if she was a young woman who was getting her master's degree and said, I want to be a teacher and all this other stuff, you know what I would say to her? I would say, okay, one little thing I want to add to you or add to your career that isn't going to be hard. It's going to take a little bit of time, but it's going to make a big difference. Is I'd like for you to take a class on how to start a business, just in case your job does not pay you enough and you need to either quit the job or you need to get a side hustle or they decide they don't want to hire you. You have to know how to go into this economy and take that same damn skill and make money. Your skill should not die in the toilet just because somebody don't want to hire you for a job. Do you understand? If you are really skilled, if you are really capable, you want to be in a position where you can take that capability and get money from it on your own. You don't need the white man's corporation to translate your skill into an economically viable opportunity for you. You should not need that. You don't need the middleman. In this economy, you want to be trained to be the middleman. You want your kids to know how to be the middleman. You got to be your own middleman. Because when you're not the middleman and you depend on the middleman, then if the middleman decides to screw you, then you will sit back and just be screwed. All you will ever become is a victim. And I don't know about y'all. Maybe I sound mean when I talk like this, but I don't want to have a whole community full of victims. Cover your ears because I'm about to cuss. You could take that victimhood stuff and shove it up your ass. I'm not a victim. I'm a problem solver. You don't see my worth. You don't see my value. You don't see what I'm capable. You don't see what my PhD is worth. Oh, well, then let me just take this asset and I'm gonna take it away from you and I'm gonna go apply it in my own way in some other direction that's gonna get me what I deserve. It's hard. It's tough. It's different. Because when you get raised in our community, you get raised to do all you get raised to do is go to school so you can get a job, and you're supposed to be nice to white folks so they'll hire you and pay you money. And I just don't trust people like that, man. You can't leave your happiness in the hands of other people. You can't leave your ability to feed your own damn children in the hands of other people. That is the white supremacy that you're fighting. That is the white supremacy that harms you. That's the white supremacy that stresses you out. They got you focused on whether or not a white lady said hello to you in the grocery store. I don't give a damn if you say hi to me. I don't care I don't care if you like me. I don't need you to like me. I don't need you to tell me Black Lives Matter. You either help me get to this bread that I'm gonna use to feed my kids, or you get the hell up out of my way. You get the fuck out of my way. That's how I feel. Like seriously, at the end of the day, we gotta grow the men. I'm talking, especially the men. Man, we gotta grow some balls. We can't. Don't ever sit around your woman acting like no victim. She ain't gonna respect you. She gonna dry up like the Sahara Desert. She only way she'll want to sleep with you is out of complete pity. You can get mad about it if you want to, but I'm sorry. I don't even. I'm such a my wife gets mad because she thinks I'm a cynic. I think I'm a realist, but she thinks I'm a cynic. I said, I really don't know if I believe in unconditional love. I don't believe that you're just going to want to be with me no matter what kind of man I show up as. I believe you want me more when I show up as a man who can solve a problem for you. You want me more when I show up as a man that can be strong for you. You want me more when I show up as a man who's going to fight for you. I don't think that it would be natural for you to be attracted to me if I never fought for you, if I had no abilities that could support you, if I had no desire to be supportive of you. What in the hell would make you want to love a person like that? That doesn't even make any damn sense. So I personally think at the end of the day, we have to become realistic about the economics of this society and understand what it means to be black in America, and just know that at the end of the day, you ain't white. And that's just, that's as plain as it gets. So anyway, do me a favor, please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. If you want, just so you know, we were talking about artificial intelligence and stuff like that. I do have a list of AI stocks that I sent out to my students. So if you'd like to receive that list of AI stocks that you can invest in to take advantage of the AI boom, just text the word stock to the number 87948. If you text stock to 87948, the list should come to you in the next day or so. So there's information there that can help you. I believe a great way to benefit from AI is to invest in it. Secondly, I want to remind everybody that we have the All Black National Convention every year. That's a convention that we paid for, one that we created. It's not sponsored by a government corporation, nobody else. My wife comes out, and we have lots of great people that come out there every year. And it's where we gather the smartest people in our community to solve our problems. My wife is a wonderful, beautiful woman, and I love her so much. And her birthday is coming up, and she's a licensed therapist. She's a full professor of social work. She's a hardworking woman. She literally to just, I mean, I think we should brag on our women when they're doing great things. And let me just tell you, my wife actually, believe it or not, she wears the same size that she wore in college because she gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning every day to go to this boot camp where these people bark at and yell at them and make them do sit-ups and push-ups and run and all that stuff. And I just think that's awesome because it does push you when you're around somebody that believes in excellence and perseverance and has determination. That pushes you to the next level, right? So I would encourage you to not just look for somebody who's going to just make life easy for you. Hang out with somebody that's going to kind of challenge you a little bit. I mean, I think there is a balance there, obviously, though. I think, I think women that are able to give men peace, I think that means a lot. But one thing I can tell you is that my wife, I really appreciate her because her intense work ethic, intellectually, physically, everything else, it pretty much saved my life. I mean, because you get in your 40s and you start gaining the weight and all that stuff. And so having a wife getting up every morning at 5 a.m. and trying to keep up with that really made a difference for me, right? So anyway, she's a licensed therapist, a full professor of social work. She's also a certified trauma specialist, and she sees clients on an individual and collective basis. So if you want to go take a look at her site, it's coachingwithdralicia.com. That's coachingwithdralicia.com. And also, since her birthday's coming up, I just want to just mention how much I appreciate you, babe. So I don't know if she's going to hear this or not, but I think it's important that we give credit to our women. And yes, she is black. I know some of y'all make fun of the fact that she's high yellow, but she's black. She's not just black. She's Gary, Indiana black. And if you know anything about Gary, Gary ain't nothing to play with. When she grew up in Gary, it was the murder capital of the world. So anyway, that's a little bit about my wife. And one thing that she helped me do was with the convention. She helped us to add in things like we have a whole Black financial therapy department in the Black Business School. So she partners with therapists, and they work on all the psychological barriers that keep us from building Black wealth. And these are high powered people. These are people that are credentialed, that have doctorates and licenses and everything else. And I think this is such an upgrade to the internet, because the internet is full of a lot of unqualified people. It's full of a lot of people where, I guess because we somehow think that having credentials is bad, or maybe there are people who make fun of people who actually went to school and all that. You just get a lot of bad information out here. So anyway, this is what we do. And the convention is going to be this year in Lombard, Illinois, which is right outside of Chicago. So I hope you'll join us. Just go to allblacknationalconvention.com. In fact, in our Money in the Morning, our financial awareness training, we're actually going to give away some free tickets to the convention. We're going to do a drawing maybe once every couple of weeks. And so if your money's tight and you want to try to get in the drawing for a free convention ticket, just join us for our financial consciousness class in the morning. It's totally free. You could do that by texting the word morning to 87948. Or if you live in another country, you can go to drboyceelevate.com. That's drboyceelevate.com. Okay, so anyway, thank you for letting me gush about my wife for a second. I apologize. I don't know. I know people make fun of me for that. People have been making fun of me since. So there's some people who've been making fun of me since I got married. I don't know why, but whatever. That's what people do. When I see DDS says disrespecting her as an automatic block. Yes, and I automatically give you complete support and permission on that. Somebody comes in acting silly, then they just need to go. It's okay. They can go. There's plenty of ignorant places they can go. They just don't need to be here. But anyway, long story short, let's sort of summarize what we were talking about earlier. So basically, here's the deal. So when we're talking about this poor lady who was struggling financially as a teacher with 16 years of experience and 2 master's degrees, there's an easy fix to this problem. The easy fix is, and this is all in the Black Wealth Master Plan, and there's the URL up there. Again, this is another free resource from the Black Business School. If every Black child is taught to start a business by the age of 12, then they always have a plan B. They can always create a side hustle to make an extra $2,000 a month. They can always figure out how to quit their job if they want to, or they can always find a way to feed their family in case they lose their job. You should not depend on another community to feed your children. Let me repeat that. You should never depend on another community to feed your children. If you get to the point where you say, gosh, I can't feed my kids because Mr. White Man's not hiring, I don't think your children are going to want to hear that. They're not going to respect that. So it's very important that you have a plan B for that, and also that you train your children to have a plan B for that. Give me a yes if you agree with that. Number 2 is you got to buy stock for your kids when they're young. I wrote my dissertation on the stock market. I studied the stock market for 30 years. I've written a bunch of original research papers on how impactful the stock market is as a wealth building mechanism. So I have confirmed science that shows the stock market investing is literally the number 1 wealth builder in our society. So you got to start buying your kids stock when they're young. Don't overthink it. Don't let it scare you. Just set it on autopilot, man. Just open up your Robinhood app and literally just like buy $30 or $40 worth of stock every week, or $100 worth if you can. I mean, $100 a week is $400 a month. There are people that spend more than that on a damn car note. So I'm trying to understand why the hell am I trying to fight with people who don't even love their kids as much as they love their car? Like that's what I'm on, and I don't want to guilt trip you, but it's true. That's how I think. I'm like, wait, isn't your child's future protecting them from racism and racial abuse, police shootings, and all these other horrible things that can happen when you're not prepared as a young Black man, a young Black woman? Isn't that more important? Like protecting from racism on the job and all the trauma that comes with that, all the distress, all the depression and anxiety that you experience from that? Like, isn't that more important than whatever you driving? I'm not trying to say you shouldn't drive something nice. You can do that, but you can do that and handle your business. There's nothing. I was talking to a guy the other day who was going to introduce me to an NBA player. who has an interest in black wealth and all that stuff. And I said, look, I'm not here to tell these rich guys that they can't enjoy their money. I'm not a guy that's going to tell you you can't go to the club and blow a few thousand. I'm not going to tell you you can't drive a Mercedes. I'm not going to tell you you can't have really nice stuff. I'm just saying handle your business first. That's it. After you handle your business, work hard, play hard. Like, go get nice stuff for yourself. Get the Mercedes that you want, but put that $500-600 a month, the same money you spend on that Benz payment, put that same amount in your child's trust fund, or put it in the family trust fund. Don't even put it in the child's name. You enjoy that money. That's your capital base. That's your financial security until you pass that over to your child. See, that's what wealth is. Wealth is intergenerational. Wealth is this construct that you create that allows you to enjoy it until you pass it to someone else. It's like if I buy a house, I can live in the house until I give it to my kids. I ain't got to buy my kids a house. You buy yourself a house. Do for yourself, and then you will be able to do for your children. You do a lot for you, and then do more for them. That's what you do. So long story short, buy stock for the kids when they're young. Really, when the day they're born is the best time to do it. And then you should do it very aggressively, and don't sell that stuff, man. Let's see, someone's at Feet is asking about NVIDIA. Do I think that $1,000 worth of stock is a good start? Yeah. Well, when NVIDIA splits, yeah, I would. If you like NVIDIA, I wouldn't wait until the split, because remember, everybody knows about the split, so the stock price is probably going to go up because of the split. If you like NVIDIA, I would say just buy NVIDIA and buy it consistently, dollar cost average. Buy $20 a week, $50 a week, $100 a week, or whatever you can afford, and just consistently do it. Don't overthink it. Don't try to time it. All the research shows that market timing does not work. So you don't want to try to time the stock market. That's just not a good strategy. Just do it. Just jump in and have some fun and do your thing and love it. Like, love it. Stock market investing is supposed to be fun. You're not supposed to overthink it. In fact, I could literally buy stock in 10 seconds, just while I'm talking to you, and totally forget that I even bought the stock. So don't make it into this big deal. But you got to get started. Okay. Now, if you're looking for some resources that can help you, here's one that's really good. We have in the Black Business School, blackmoney101.com. There is a ton of material, a ton of great lectures I put together with slides and PowerPoints and everything else that's yours for life. It's a great way to get started on your wealth building journey. It's what I call an introduction to the power of money. So feel free to go to blackmoney101.com and take a look at that. And that'll give you something to kind of get started if my assistance can help you in that journey, because I really just want to see as many of us invest in the stock market as possible. The third piece to the Black Wealth Master Plan. So the first thing I said was that every Black child should be trained on how to start a business by the age of 12. Number two, every Black child should have somebody buying stock for them from the time that they're little, really from the time that they're born. Really, the earlier the earlier the better. So if you're a true visionary and you're going to have kids in 10 years, why not start buying stock right now? Right? Just buy it. Start buying right now. Like I told our 17-year-old, I said, well, one day you're going to have kids, right? She said, yeah. I said, well, yeah, start buying stock now. And then by the time your kids are grown-ups, like, you'll be able to pass them $1 million. Like, how cool would that be? They're going to love you, right? But it's really important this is why things like meditation are so important, right? People think it's weird when I do our economic awareness training every morning and I talk about things like meditation and consciousness. And the reason that I speak this way is because you have no idea how much exposure I've had to things like linear algebra, higher dimensional mathematics, and all these other constructs that really take your brain to another place. Like, so really what I see when I see, say, for example, instant gratification versus delayed gratification, I'm seeing higher dimensional thinking. All I'm really seeing is checkers versus chess. If you're a chess player, you're a higher dimensional thinker than a checker player. Let me know if you get what I'm saying. Give me a yes if you're following this. If you are a chess players think several steps ahead. Chess players have to be able to identify all the possibilities that may lie ahead, several moves down. Chess players think differently from checker players. And then there are people that play fourth, fifth, and sixth dimensional chess. So that's a higher level. So this is where consciousness is important and meditation is important. So if I'm sitting here and I'm 20 years old and I meditate and I just imagine myself as a 50-year-old and I walk through my day as a 50-year-old man with teenage children and a 50-year-old wife and 50-year-old bills and and all that stuff, then I can see that life that I need to be prepared for. I can understand it better, and I'm not going to be intimidated by it because I have 30 years to put myself in a position where I'm going to be doing very well as a 50-year-old. Do you understand? Thank you, Sister Debbie. I see your yes. Do you understand? And let me tell you why this is important. I want to ask y'all a question. Do you think that most 20-year-old Black men can even fathom what their life will be like when they're 50? Do you think that there are any 20? Do you think that most 20-year-old black men, yes or no, have imagined what their lives will be like when they're 50? I mean, like, seriously imagine that. Do you really think that this is something that's a common exercise in the community? What do you think? Of course it's not. It's not. Most 20-year-old black men can't even imagine being 25. I'm not saying that there's something wrong with them. I'm not making fun of them. So if you're young, I'm not dogging you and nothing like that. I'm just telling you, look at your friends. Look at your friends who can't even look past Saturday night. You got friends that can't even see 3 months into the future, let alone think about it. You are running around skeeting in all these women and making babies everywhere. And you go look at a lot of 35-year-old men. Child support is one of the biggest financial drains that they're dealing with. They sitting there dealing with all this child support, hate their baby's mama. I'm like, well, if you hate your baby's mama and you hate paying the child support, why was you in there raw dogging all them girls when you were well, man, I wasn't thinking, man. I was just living, man. See, there's your problem. No, you didn't have somebody like me in your ear. You had a dumb rapper in your ear. You had a goofball comedian in your ear. You had athletes on TV in your ear. Some of whom, I'm not saying these are bad guys. I'm not making fun of them. I'm not attacking them. But I am saying that you didn't have people in your ear who were saying, look, you dumbass, you're going to be older one day and you have to have a plan. That's what you have to have. And this is where I want to help. I promise you, even when I make people mad, even when I upset people, I'm really trying to help. Because I understand a lot of people didn't have a father like I did. They didn't have a father my father, I remember one time when I was 17, my father said, boy, you better do something with your life because one day you're going to wake up and you're going to be 35 and wonder where your good years went. And I thought like that really made me pause. Like I said, dang, I don't want that to happen to me. That one little statement made a big difference. And I don't really think we have a lot of people that help us do that. Because a 20-year-old who makes a plan for what his life is going to be like when he's 45 or 50 is going to be in very good shape when he's 45 or 50 because he has lots of time to prepare. But a 20-year-old who doesn't think about when he's 45 or 50 and starts preparing to be 45 when he's 46 years old, you got people like that. You got people that prepare to be 45 when they're already 46. You got a lot of 46-year-old teenagers running around here, literally still thinking that it's 1998. It's Diddy, poor Diddy was out here. Diddy does the same dances in 2024 that he did in 1998 and 1997. This man did not want to grow up. You have a Peter Pan complex in your community, which has to be annihilated with maximum efficiency. It has to be eliminated as quick as possible because it keeps your men and their growth stunted. It keeps them from being in a position to prepare for the future. And if you're not a person that can prepare for the future, then you're not going to be a very good investor or a good wealth builder. Now, let me show you all this video. I'm going to show you all this video real quick. If you can please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. This is the last thing I'm going to show you, I promise. And then I'm going to get on out of here because when I start talking for a long time, I start saying stuff that makes people madder than it already does. I put this on my Instagram, and I'm going to try to share. My Instagram, by the way, is Dr. Boyce Finance. And my backup Instagram is Dr. Boyce Money. So I hope that you'll follow me on the gram. Let me see if I can find this dang thing. Where is that Instagram post? Okay, here we go. Wait, I think this is it. Let me see. Here we go. Okay. So can y'all see that image up there? There's a lady, and on the top of it, there's like some Chinese kids, kindergartners playing basketball. So I want you to look at this, and I want you to just watch this video. It's pretty awesome. Y'all see the kids on the screen? Can y'all see that? Because it doesn't look like it's moving on my end. Do y'all see the kids playing basketball on the screen, or is it just not working? If it's not working, I'll grab the video and show it to you later. But anyway, it's on my Instagram, which is Dr. Boyce Finance. I don't see it moving on here, so I'm going to take it down. But anyway, what they did was they showed all these little Asian kids that were playing basketball. And it was really, really fascinating to watch because the kids are able to do these really interesting things with basketballs where they have 40 of them, 40 kids all sharing the same basketballs. Like one will dribble next to the other one, and then they'll move, and then they all move at the same time, and they keep dribbling, and then they'll move at the same time, and they keep dribbling. Has anybody ever seen that? It's really interesting. And the reason I wanted to show this to you, and I'm going to try to show it again. Let me know if you see it, because I think it's a really important lesson on group economics. So let me show y'all this. And this is actually linked to culture. I talk about this a lot in my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. Okay, can y'all see the little Chinese kids dribbling the basketballs? Y'all see that? It's not as big as I want, but I hope you can see it. Can y'all see? Give me a guess if you see that. Okay. So here, look at this, right? You've got the children, like about 50 of them, all working together. All of them are coordinated and on a very deep level. Like this, when you're doing this, when you're 4, 5, 6 years old, what's happening is that you're brainwashing the children to be connected on a deep subconscious level. They're vibrating on the same frequency. Now, what I want you to really understand is what's happening here. What the Chinese government is doing is they are pretty much practicing a form of powernomics. Now, sure, in its most sinister level, this is clearly a type of brainwashing. But on a less sinister level, this is a coordinated group of society. This is group activity. This is group economics. This is group everything. This is family structure. This is us understanding that we are better off when we connect to the group, when we are consistent in terms of what we do, and what I do affects what you do affects what I do. We all care about the community. Now, I want you to contrast that with some of what we see sometimes in the Black community, where you don't have a collective mindset, where you have, for example, you might have some really famous entertainer who does some really ridiculous stuff, and people say, why would you set that bad example for the children? And then a lot of them will jump out and say, well, because I'm not a role model and I don't owe nothing to nobody except myself. That doesn't really happen in China. The Chinese government pretty much forbids that kind of behavior. They punish and penalize that kind of behavior. In fact, if you are a loud, flashy hip hop artist showing off all your money and to poor people and also making people feel bad, they will take you down. They will take down your social media. They won't let you do that. They won't let people do what a lot of our artists do. Right. So what I'm saying to you is that when you see these kids operating in sync, what that's doing is that's creating a type of rhythm, a type of subconscious connection and vibration that they're going to operate on even when they're 20, 30, and 40 and 50 years old. You won't be able to compete. Your kids who are divided and conquered and crabs in a barrel and fighting each other, pulling each other down, hating on each other, mad at each other, competing with each other, they can't compete with Chinese kids, because I taught a class in China. I taught finance in China a long time ago, 18 years ago. I taught a finance class in China. And when I tell you that they operate in sync, it is not a game. They got powernomics mastered at a very high level. They are going to kick your kids in the ass if your kids grow up with all this Negro shit. If they grow up with all this nonsense, this selfish, narcissistic behavior that they see from some of their favorite celebrities, I don't care about nobody. All I care about is mine, and I hate my baby daddy. You can't win. Not against this, because they've been training since they were children on how to be connected. They also understand what an ecosystem looks like. In my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, I have to spend a lot of time explaining what an ecosystem is. While the Black family is supposed to be an economic ecosystem where I pour into you, you pour into me. Trade is better than charity. I help you out, you help me out. I hook you up, you hook me up. I come through for you, you come through for me. And I want you to contrast that. Think about how many times you've had your own relative borrow money from you and not even feel compelled to pay you back. Has that happened to anybody? Has anybody ever loaned money to a relative who was in trouble because you're trying to be loyal, you're trying to follow through, you're trying to be a stand-up guy, you're trying to be a good loved one, and you come through for them, and then they disappear with your money? Has anybody ever seen that? Or what about just all the scenarios where people will make babies and nobody can humble themselves enough to sacrifice to make sure that the baby's okay? The daddy hates the mama hates the daddy, and both of y'all hate the damn children. Both of y'all come in there with your nonsense, with your narcissism, with your selfishness. You talking crazy about his daddy in front of the child. So the child hates himself. He hates his daddy. So he's got no father. And then the daddy's talking crazy about the mother. That's not healthy, man. Like that's very anti-family. It's very anti-wealth. It's very anti-community. You don't build anything out of that. So what the Chinese government is doing basically when they have these little kids dribbling basketballs together, this is not just PE class. This is treating them how to be a solid citizen. This is powernomics training, Black people. This is what powernomics training looks like. If you look at that circle right there, right, where each kid, think about this, you got 50 kids operating in unison to achieve the same goal. If one child falls off code, if one kid, just 1 out of 50, doesn't understand the assignment, the whole thing falls apart. And these are 4-year-olds who are better able to be unified at achieving a goal. They have better unity at the age of 4 than some of us have at 54. How about that shit? If that doesn't make you mad, I don't know what should. I'm inspired by what I see, but part of me is like frightened by this. I'm scared for those of us who just never learn these things, right? And I really encourage you, like, discipline and unity are critical when you're really trying to compete in this world. So a lot of us, let's just face it, a lot of our people won't ever be able to compete. When you can't compete, you pretty much have to submit yourself to become the slave of the people who can compete. That's where a big segment of our community is going to go. That's just the reality. That's just the fact. But there are some of you who are tired of that shit. Some of y'all who just ain't going to live like that. You don't want to live like a slave. You don't want to be told what to do. You don't want anybody controlling you. You want to elevate. You want to break the generational curse. You want to go to the next level. And I applaud you, and I encourage you, and I challenge you. And what I'm also telling you is that you're gonna have to be strong as hell. You're literally gonna be strong as hell. Why? Well, because you got two enemies. You got racist white folks, and you got ignorant black folks. And both of them can be equally destructive, unfortunately, when it comes to you trying to really do something good. You're going to have to fight against that, and you're going to have to be strong, and you have to be consistent. And believe me, I know, because I'm kind of in the epicenter of that. I deal with lost people every single day, and I don't hate them. I don't try to change them. I just walk around them. And y'all know, every single day I've been very consistent about this, about what I do every day. Because when you're trying to do something hard or something great or whatever it is we're trying to do, you got to put forth that effort. You got to be committed at that level. You got to be extreme. So I'm okay with being an extremist. I'm an extremist when it comes to rebuilding families and loving the black woman. I'm an extremist when it comes to education. I believe that our kids should be educated at the highest level. They should be able to compete with the Indian kids, Asian kids, Arab kids, and Nigerian kids. I'm not just happy when a kid finishes high school and he can't read. I'm not happy just because Pookie went to college. I'm happy when Pookie goes to college and he does his absolute best. I'm an extremist when it comes to wealth. I believe deeply that if we train our children at an early age on stock market investing, real estate investing, entrepreneurship, stock options, everything else, and we also plant seeds for them by investing for them consistently and teaching them the value of ownership and things like that, and what it means to be on code economically, etc., I believe that we can be the richest people on the planet. I believe that there will be black people that are going to come out of our movement, that are going to come out of the B1 movement, who are one day going to run the world. They're going to run trillion-dollar companies one day. In less than 100 years, there will be somebody out of this movement, one of y'all's grandkids or something, is going to run a $1 trillion company. And I'm very, very proud to have been a part of that with you. I'm very, very proud of that. So I honor you and I thank you. And I appreciate you for standing with me in this weirdness that we live in. And I appreciate you for even trying to understand where I'm coming from. And because not everybody does. It ain't easy. So that's it, guys. I'm done. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you. And also, if you want to get a free copy of the ebook on how to do the $5 a day investing plan, you can go to b1investing.com. Our marketing director, Micah, just put that together as a place where you can go to get a free resource. So go to b1investing.com. Feel free to take a look. And also tomorrow morning, we're going to do economic awareness training, EAT. That's where I show you how to eat. If you want to eat, you got to be able to see the food. Awareness is being able to see. So if you'd like to join us for economic awareness training, just text the word morning, MORNING, to 87948. We meet at 10 a.m. Eastern every single morning, 7 days a week. And if you live overseas and you can't text the word morning to 87948, you can also go to drboyceelevate.com and sign up there. That's drboyceelevate.com. So have a good day, everybody. God bless you. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. It's real. And I will see you all very, very soon. Love you. Take care. Peace.
Here we are, claiming the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.
If your standard is marriage and commitment, then you probably need to spend time learning from people who have that standard, who have achieved at that standard. Like if I'm a basketball player and my standard is I want to win the NBA championship, I'm going to go hang out with Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James. I'm going to study them. I'm going to learn from them. I'm not going to learn from people who never did what I'm trying to do. So what are you trying to accomplish? And again, the reason I say it's important to untether yourself from the mediocrity around you is because that's what a lot of us are cursed with. There's so much mediocrity intellectually. There's so much laziness, so much unhealthy behavior, so many bad choices. And I think also in America, what does occur is that there's almost like this addiction to victimization. I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but I almost feel like people enjoy being victims. They enjoy sitting around and, being unconscious, letting horrible things happen. And then they get to become a victim, and that makes them somehow a hero. And I'm not saying that you weren't a victim, but I'm saying like why would that be what we aim for? I don't want to be a victim. That should be the preference, right? So long story short, I think consciousness allows you to avoid victimhood. Like, so for example, there are a lot of economic victims right now in our economy. A lot of economic victims. If you look at young people, for example, under the age of 35, they are being body slammed by the economy. We've talked about this in class before. Young people are in an economy where the price of houses literally went up. Like the average price of a home is now $400,000. It was like $200,000 before the pandemic. Now it's like $400,000. Jobs are not paying what they used to pay. Your college degree is for some of us, the college degree is pretty much worthless. For some people, it's not worth what we thought it would be. Debt levels are very, very high. It's very hard to survive in this economy. And so what happens is that people will complain about it and people will say, yeah, you're right. This is terrible. But then my thought is like, why don't we take this conversation full circle and say, how do we avoid becoming victims? What do you have to do? What's the solution? And there is a solution. We've talked about what the solution is. When it comes to your kids, you invest for them early so they have a capital base. When they get to a certain age, you teach them how to start a business so that their boss doesn't get to decide how much money they're going to make. They get to decide that. And you teach them the value of ownership over renting things like homes, right? If they do those three things, then they become an owner, they become a holder of stock, and they become a boss. Bosses who own stock in real estate are not the ones who are struggling in this society. They're not the economic victims of this culture. They're not. The boss is winning. The landlord is winning. The person who owns stock, they're really winning. Me and my wife own a few shares of NVIDIA. That was an easy $100,000 that we made just from sitting there and owning an asset. You understand? So think through these things. I think that would be a great consciousness exercise. And again, I would say that, again, my personal opinion. So if I say something that's wrong or something that offends you or something that is not consistent with your values or something you don't agree with, I hope we can just forget all that and still be friends. OK, so I hope that that's OK. But I can just tell you that if I could think about anything that led to success in life for me, it would be the fact that I was naturally untethered to what other people were doing. And in fact, sometimes you grow up and you're awkward and you don't fit in. I didn't really fit in that well, and I was an introvert. I didn't fit in with white people because I'm not white. I didn't fit in with a lot of black people because I couldn't do stereotypical shit like dance and all that. I didn't understand all those aspects of black culture. So I saw everything with a critical eye. I would say, I'm not doing it. That's stupid. Why would I do that? Or what's wrong with me speaking with good English? Like that doesn't make me white. It just means I want to enunciate my words, whatever, right? And so what happened was that because of that isolation, I was able to make decisions about which cultures I want to grab from to create the composite of whatever it means to be Boyce Watkins. So that's why if you go through the internet, you'll see that there are people who love me and I love you too. And then you're going to see people that just hate my guts, think I'm uppity, that I'm full of crap and can't stand me. And that's okay too. I get it. I think I know where that's coming from because I'm not going to sign on to anything that's stupid. I'm not going to sign on to anything that doesn't make sense. I offended some of my friends that were in fraternities because I said, wait a minute. So you're telling me that you want me to pledge your fraternity? I'm supposed to give you all my money.
which I ain't really got no money, but I'm supposed to give you all my money so that you can spend 6 weeks torturing me and waking me up in the middle of the night, ruining my GPA, causing me to be sleep deprived and funky and humiliating myself. And there's the reward is that I get to be your friend. I get to wear the same clothes as you. That doesn't make any sense. That does not compute. That's stupid to me. And again, but so when I say it that way, it obviously is offensive to people maybe who made a different choice. And I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm just trying to go through the process. And the other cool thing was my parents were the same way. My parents, the way they would talk to us about stuff is if we came to them and said, well, so-and-so down the street, his mama bought him the blah, blah, blah. My mother would be like, I don't care what they're doing down the street. My father's like, I don't give a damn what somebody else is doing over there. This is what we're doing up in here. This is what we're doing in town. And it takes a certain level of self-esteem to be able to do that. You have to have a certain level of confidence to say, I don't care if everybody else is going left. We're going right. Because it's okay to say that sometimes the whole world is wrong. It's okay to say that. So I want to give you the courage to do that. If the world seems wrong, if I seem wrong, if the person next to you seems wrong, then you don't follow wrong. You don't follow the crowd. Because in this society, Black people that follow the crowd do not tend to be successful. It'd be different if we were in a different culture where we have all this educational and economic excellence and wealth was just flying through the roof. Then maybe following the crowd can actually work. But unfortunately, we're in a stage still where following the crowd just simply turns you into another victim. And I don't want that for you. I want better things for you. So thank you for letting me overtalk this point. I don't know if I overstayed my welcome, but I hope I made these points with the intention of being supportive of whatever it is you're trying to do. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up for now. So by the way, if you're not on the text list, make sure you get on the text list, and we're going to meet tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. Text the word morning to 87948. Text morning to 87948. And also, I will send you all, I don't know if you all got this or not, but there is a list of stocks you can buy for under $10. I'll text that out later on this afternoon. So make sure you're on the text list. You can get that. Text morning to 87948. So you'll get a lot of text messages from me. And if you don't want them anymore, if you don't click on any of the text messages, it'll automatically take you off the list. So hit the button if you want to stay on there. Second of all, later on this week, I will be reaching out to those of you that want to study stock options and stuff like that. We're going to do another meeting on the Prime program pretty soon. And last but not least, I told you all that I would give you all the link to apply to be speakers at the All Black National Convention. And I think I sent it out already, but I don't know if I did or not. I think I did. But either way, though, I'm going to send it out again. So if you want to be a speaker, you want to apply, then we'll send out the link and you guys will get top priority to speak at the convention. But we don't have that many slots, to be honest with you. So it's kind of a tight fit, but we will do our best to support you in whatever it is you're doing and to acknowledge your talent, because I know a lot of you are doing amazing things. Okay, so anyway, I'm out of here, guys. Have a great day. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you.
What's going on? I hope you guys are having a good night. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I want to say welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. And today I want to cover this list. I saw this interesting list of the 10 college majors that are most regretted by college graduates. And so I'm going to go through this list and kind of talk through it and just kind of share a perspective on it that I think is really interesting. And also I noticed that Terrence Howard thinks that he's reinvented mathematics, which I think is just hilarious. So anyway, let's get started here. I'm gonna jump right into the conversation. All right. So I don't know how many of you went to college, but if you did go to college, type college or college graduate in the chat. Let me know that you went to college. If you don't know my background, I taught on college campuses for a long time. I taught at the University of Kentucky, Indiana University, Syracuse University, the Ohio State University. I also started the Black Business School, where we serve about 167,000 students around the world. And our goal is to focus primarily and solely on the Black wealth issue. I believe that the Black wealth issue is the most important, most pressing issue of our community right now. So I've dedicated my life to pulling together as many experts as possible, from therapists to health experts to relationship experts to financial experts, to figure out why Black wealth is going down and how to stop it. So I just want you to know we've already solved that problem. The challenge now is getting us to implement the solutions. Solutions are very straightforward. If you want to see our solutions, the solutions are free. You don't have to pay for the solution. It's blackwealthmasterplan.com. Go to blackwealthmasterplan.com. You'll see the $5 a day plan that will get anybody out of poverty and make them wealthy in less than a generation. So I want to first of all say hello to Robin as Suni Binghamton. Robin is one of my favorite names. That is my mama's name, by the way. So shout out to you, Ms. Robin. Jermaine Trusty, I know that name out of Camden, New Jersey. I talked to that brother directly, and because he knows that Milt Wagner, his son and grandson, all came out of Camden. So I'm a Louisville Cardinals fan, so we have a debt of gratitude to Camden for producing some of the most kick-ass basketball players ever. In fact, I think Billy Thompson came out of there too, and he was one of my childhood heroes. And what's going on, Issa Welder? Issa went to trade school. Yeah, well, trade school is making a major comeback. People are finding out that there's more money to be made by having a skill than there is by getting a piece of paper. Imagine that. Imagine that. Real skill has more value than simply going to a college campus and drinking beer for 4 years. But anyway, let me read this list to you of the 10 majors that people regret the most. And if any of these majors belong to you, feel free to shout it out in the chat, and we will give you our condolences for being suckered into wasting money on something that didn't give you what you were looking for. All right, so let me grab the list. I had the damn thing, and then I lost the damn thing, and now I'm mad because I can't. Hold on, I gotta find it. Y'all gotta give me 1 second. Y'all gotta pray for me. I'm figuring it all out. While I do that, please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. I promise y'all, I had it right here on my screen because I was like, boys, don't mess it up. Make sure you have your notes ready. And I'll be damned if I'm sitting here and I don't have my notes ready. All right. So anyway, first, actually, as I find this, I want to mention, did anybody see where Terrence Howard was literally trying to redefine all of mathematics? Did anybody see that? He literally said that it's that 1 times 1 is not actually equal to 1. That 1 times 1 should actually be equal to 2. And I thought that was really interesting. And my first thought was, okay, where did Terrence Howard get his doctorate in mathematics? And not to say that you can't be brilliant and all these other things. And I'm not doubting Terrence Howard's intelligence, but Lord Jesus, man, come on, bro. Like you literally, I don't think anybody ever explained to Terrence that we've known that 1 times 1 equals 1 for thousands of years. I mean, that's one of the most original axioms in all of mathematics. So I kind of found it funny that sometimes, fame and whatever they smoking up in Hollywood can make people think that they can do things they really can't do. It's almost like me going to Hollywood and thinking I'm going to be better at making movies and acting than Terrence Howard with no experience. So it's kind of an insult to the real mathematicians out there that he actually thinks he can reinvent all of mathematics. There are thousands of high-level mathematicians who've been working on problems like that for a long time. So him kind of I don't know. I thought I didn't like it. I thought it was kind of funny, but then again, people worship celebrities, so I don't want to insult anybody. All right, so let me find this list. So one thing I do know is that number 1 on the list, as far as majors that people regret, was what was it? Journalism. Journalism. 87% of all journalism majors regret majoring in journalism, and I would honestly say that a part of that regret, I would be willing to bet, is driven by the fact that we've lost real journalism in our society. We don't have real journalists celebrated the way they used to be. I watched a documentary about not Ted. Was it Ted? It wasn't Ted Koppel. It was Dan Rather. And there's a Netflix documentary about him. He's a really famous journalist back in the day. And Dan Rather, to me, and people like him and Ted Koppel and the others, they represent a time where journalism was really respected because journalists did their job. I used to consider journalism to be one of those fields that had, just members of that community that just had the highest levels of integrity, that were going to seek out the facts, that were going to be objective and just make sure people were informed. And you don't have that anymore. Now you got, this crap on Fox News. You got the bullshit on MSNBC. Everybody's basically a talking head for their favorite political party. And I think that that's really undermined the quality of journalism in our country. And that's really driven by money. If y'all don't know that, that's a financial problem. It's a financial problem because there are certain things in society that should not be linked to money. Journalism, the ability to get ads and viewers and all that, that's the profit motive of many of these journalistic outlets. And the problem is they have to tap dance for society and not give people what we need. They have to give us what we want. So if you give people a choice between objective journalism, where they're not always going to tell you what you want to hear, versus some loudmouth pundit who is telling you your favorite lies in the middle of TikTok dances, then that's what you're going to get. You're going to get a bunch of nonsense and a bunch of BS. So effectively, journalism has kind of fallen to the wayside. I'd say 20 years ago, I had a tremendous amount of respect for the field of journalism. That's not true anymore. And if you don't understand why, just look at the crap that's on TV. Like Sherwin, you're right, man. When Peter Jennings, that was another OG that really did journalism the right way. Walter Cronkite was the original. And then you had a lot of black guys. So what's the brother's name? Bro, was it Brian Williams? Well, no, it wasn't Brian. Brian Williams is the white boy in NBC. Lester Holt killed it. Just Ed Gordon. Shout out to Ed Gordon, who always did great work. Ed Gordon happens to be a friend of mine. And I'll tell you, I always respected the fact that he was deeply committed to journalism. I have mixed reviews on, say, a Roland Martin, because on one hand, I think Roland's a smart guy and a hardworking journalist, and he seems thorough and committed to what he does. On the other hand, he comes off like a stooge for Joe Biden. He comes off as somebody who's almost he's always applying for a job with the Democratic Party. And that undermines his credibility as a journalist. Ed Bradley, there you go. There's another one. There's so many great black journalists. It's ridiculous. You have the National Black Journalist Society. I think that's what it's called, or the National Black Journalist Association, with so many great journalists in there. So I don't think that the few bad apples should spoil the bunch. But what's happened is that the bad apples have become the ones that they put on TV the most. All right, so let me keep going. Also on the list is sociology. They said if you go to college and you go deep in debt to become a sociology major, apparently that does not have a big payoff for you. You could learn sociology on your own. You could learn it on the internet. You don't have to go to college to learn sociology. Somebody could teach you that on YouTube. And I'm talking about real professors. I'm not talking about just people who are just talking out the side of their neck, like so many other YouTube pundits. You got a lot of people on YouTube who just run their mouths and just say things. But you actually have real experts. You have professors at Harvard and MIT that teach classes for free on YouTube. So if you want to learn something like sociology, I don't know if college and 100,000, 200,000 in debt is really worth it. Not anymore, because you have so many other ways you can learn. Next is liberal arts and general studies. The 72% of the people that majored in liberal arts or general studies regretted it, largely because employers would have a very hard time figuring out what you're actually able to do. They know that you can do something. Maybe you can communicate better. Maybe you have better social skills. Maybe you know a few facts from all the random classes you took. But it's hard to identify, if you are an employer, it's hard to identify exactly what a liberal arts or general studies major could do for you. And if you know, in college sports, I remember when I used to tutor football players at the University of Kentucky. A lot of them were general studies majors. And one of my friends went to Vanderbilt, and he said, you would have thought that we were all going to join the military because they were producing so many generals. So many of us had general studies, like we were studying to become generals in the military. But that's what they do, right? Because the NCAA was never in the business of educating people. It was always in the business of making money. Thank God they're forcing the universities to start having to pay the players, because they've always deserved their cut. Next on the list is communications. I personally think communications is really an important skill to have. I think if you can communicate, you can get a lot done. I just think that a major like communications has to be supplemented by something. I'm a big believer that every black child that goes to college, it's okay to go to college. I'm not anti-college, but I really believe you should take the time to learn how to start a business. Why? Well, because you're not white. If you and the white boy apply for the same job, every single study shows that he's more likely to get the job than you. So it's a fact. Now, what are you going to do about it? I mean, that it's true. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to just complain about it? If your goal is to just sit there and complain about the problem, then just go ahead and hang up. Just go ahead and leave, because you can just go back to your sad little reality where white people control your access to happiness and fulfilling your destiny. But if you want to solve the problem, well, the way to solve the problem is learn how to start your own stuff. If you learn how to start your own business, then you can walk away from whatever false opportunity they might have put in front of you and actually take your talent and go elsewhere with that and apply it in a way that's going to put food on the table and food in the mouths of your kids. So ultimately, I would say communications is a powerful tool, but I would supplement that with sales, or maybe with entrepreneurship, or just something that's going to put some more money in your pocket. Now, by the way, if you want to learn more about money in the Black Business School, we have a great program called Black Money 101. It's an introduction to the power of money. Right now, you can get 90% off lifetime access by going to blackmoney101.com. That's blackmoney101.com. Also, I put together a list of what I call canna stocks. Basically, there is what they call the green revolution right now. I don't know how many of you, give me a yes or no if you heard that they are working to legalize the legalized weed in America. If you know this, then you will know that that there are certain companies you can invest in that will give you an opportunity to benefit from this development. So what I did was I put together a list of Dr. Boyce Canna stocks, and you can get that free list. Just the link is in the bio of this video. So if you go to the bio of this video, you will find the Canna stocks there. I'm going to try to put something on the screen so you can kind of see what the page should look like. Even though I'm probably going to get this wrong, I'm going to hit the wrong button or something. But anyway, there we go. Here we go. I'll show you the page. So this is the page that you'll see when you hit that link. And basically on that link, there is a list of stocks you can get that are Canna stocks. So feel free to grab some of those. Somebody says, very true. Corporate life is not for the black man. I agree with you, Tyrone. I learned, I got my dream job when I was 21 years old. And I thank God that I had this dream job because because that was when I started to learn the reality is that there's no such thing as a dream job. There's no such thing as a dream job. Nobody dreams about going to work every day. Nobody dreams about labor. If I have a dream, it's going to be, I'm going to dream about my sexy wife. If I'm dreaming about, ice cream and private jets. If I'm having a dream, I'm dreaming about, the things that men dream about, whatever that is. So, pile of money and it's sexy women, whatever it is. Right. But my wife might be listening, so I can't talk too much, but a job is not something I dream about. So I personally believe that the idea of a dream job is a complete myth. It's a complete myth. Seriously. There's nothing about going to work every day that is great. It's just sort of like a minimal amount of pain. It's sort of like your suffering's not as bad as everybody else's. But if you really spent your time that day doing what you really wanted to do, you'd be sleeping in, you'd be going to the movies, you'd be hanging out with your kids, right? And so ultimately, in this so-called dream job that I had, I went to General Electric Aircraft Engines Division in Lynn, Massachusetts, and they paid me lots of money and put me in a really nice fancy apartment in downtown Boston, which was very expensive. And I hated that job. I hated it. I didn't fit into the culture. I didn't understand what was going on. They didn't understand me. It was really tragically painful and stressful for everybody involved. So that taught me that maybe I wanted to do something. If I'd known then what I know now, I would have just become an entrepreneur. I would have just spent a whole year grinding my ass off to learn how to be the best business owner I could possibly be. And then I would have started a business with some family members and figured it out. I would have figured out how to sell something and make money. Instead, I became a professor because I wanted freedom. I wanted to be able to work from home. I wanted to be able to work on things I wanted to work on. And being a professor wasn't bad, but I wasn't able to get away from the bureaucracy of working for other people and also being a black man in a white institution. That's really, really hard. I think it's really, really hard if you are a black man with a strong black identity being in a pretty white institution because they're forcing you to change who you are in order to fit in, and you're criminalized the minute you walk through the door. And that was just really tough. So I kind of think that the solution for most of us, especially brothers out here, learn how to start your own, and also make sure your sons and your daughters know how to do that too. All right, so let me keep going here. Education, that's the next major that people regret. I'm kind of surprised by that because I think education is a good major. We need our teachers. Teachers are extremely important, but teachers are not valued in the society. Teachers do not get the respect that they deserve. Teachers are severely underpaid. You got to deal with these little crazy ass, badass kids who have parents that don't give a damn. It's stressful to be a teacher, man. I feel so bad for our teachers. It's crazy to me. When I see videos of some stupid teenager punching out the teacher and all that, the teacher didn't ask for that. They ain't getting hazard pay. So why are they going into a building where they're getting beat up, cussed out by the parents and all this other stuff? I mean, this is kind of how ridiculous the world has gotten. So, but they say that education is a major that people tend to regret. And that makes me very sad because we need educators in our community. And what we also need is we need more homeschool networks. That's what we need. We need to educate our own. We got to find some way to educate our own kids so that our kids don't get brainwashed and destroyed by this system. So that's something I'm working on in the background. If anybody happens to know somebody that can help us come up with $10 million to start a homeschool network, we will be more than happy to work with that person. So if you know somebody that's got ethical money, they can come in and put up the funds to help us build a homeschool network. We will do that. We will educate the kids ourselves because we can do this. We have everything we need. Next on the list is marketing, management, and research. That's another major people regret. Now, I find that interesting. I find that surprising because marketing is an incredibly valuable skill. Maybe it's the type of marketing you learn, right? So if you learn things like digital marketing or sales, that can actually put you in a really great position to make money. If you know how to sell things, then you're usually not going to be broke. So I personally think that that's just a misassessment. And then another one they say people regret is medical and clinical assisting. Now, so that means the medical field itself, I don't think is something people regret. But I think when you talk about being a medical or clinical assistant, that doesn't give the rewards that people expect. But I think the medical field is very important. And I know a lot of people in the medical field who are doing quite well. The downside is that it requires a lot of work, a lot of long shifts. And one thing that we've discovered in the Black Business School that we've actually kind of advocated for is the idea of learning various ways to make money without going to work every day. We've talked about the most important thing that a young person can have is not a college degree. It's not a college degree. It's not even a technical or trade degree. The most important thing a young person can have is a capital base. A capital base means having assets that they own that can generate income. So if you go to drboyceprime.com, you'll see our Prime program where we have quite several hundred people that we've shown how to do little things like trade stock options, and they're generating more money without working than most people make on their job. Like, so for example, if a person has 1,000 shares of Coinbase and they know how to manage their risk effectively, which is what we train them on how to do, that person can make as much money as a medical doctor, more money than a medical doctor without a college degree. So I figured it out. I said, maybe instead of grinding like crazy to get the bachelor's degree, to get the master's degree, to get the doctoral degree, to get the law degree, and being in school for the rest of your life and then working 12, 13-hour days, maybe you focus on saying, hey, how can I get access to 1,000 shares of Coinbase, because then I can sell those options, make $5,000 or $6,000 a week, which is more than $250,000 a year. And I'm already making surgeon money, and I'm 22, 23 years old because my parents cared enough about me to invest for me long term. So this is part of what we call the Black Wealth Master Plan. The plan is not so much for you to be able to do it all by yourself. It's to understand the importance of being teammates, the importance of us working together, the importance of having parents that invest for their children, the importance of making sure that we understand that wealth is a team sport. It's an intergenerational sport. The reason our young people and our college graduates end up slaving for folks who hate their guts is because nobody makes a plan for them. If nobody makes a plan for you, then you will be out here with no plan. If nobody makes a plan for you, you will be out here with no plan. If nobody makes a plan for you, you're going to be assed out. You're out here stuck. You have no capital base. So therefore, you have to become a slave to the owners of capital in order for you to pay your bills. So anyway, Yoshika says, I'd like to learn stock options. Yeah, well, you know what, Yoshika, just go to drboyceprime.com. I'd love to have you as a member of the Prime program. I think you'll like it. Also, another way you can get some exposure to what we do in the Black Business School. It's very, very effective. The satisfaction rate is incredibly high. The students love it. And then also in the Black Business School, we have money back guarantees in the first 30 days if you're not happy for any reason. And but if you text the word money to 87948, I'll send you a free training. It'll come right to your text right when you text the word money to the number 87948. You'll get this link to a training I created that everyone loves. About 100,000 people have seen it or something like that. And it's called How to Make Money Without Working. This is revolutionary. This is changing the mindset of so many people. It is a breakthrough. Again, remember, I'm not a financial influencer. I'm not a YouTuber. I'm not a financial influencer. I'm a finance professor. So I can't just give you a bunch of hype and a bunch of nonsense. I've been teaching college students since 1993. I taught my first finance class at Indiana University in the fall of 93. So I'm not a kid. I'm not a loud influencer. I'm not out here imitating the dumbass rappers. I'm really trying to come up with real solutions. And our team has come up with these solutions. My wife is a therapist. She's not just a therapist. She's a therapist that trains other therapists. That's how good she is. And she still looks damn good. But let me just brag on my wife for a minute. Look at that. Isn't she fine? I mean, look at how gorgeous she is. And she just turned, well, I can't tell her age, but she ain't 22. She's closer to my age. And I put my wife up against a 32-year-old any day of the week. But anyway, yeah, so her birthday is this week and we came out to California together and she's doing this little photo shoot and stuff like that. And let me tell you, I love her and I think she's gorgeous and she reminds me of the excellence of Black women. Even before I picked my wife to marry, I always told y'all years ago, I said, I don't know if I'm gonna ever get married, but if I ever get married, I'm marrying me a Black woman because that's where I'm supposed to be. That's where I belong. Those are my people. That's where I'm at. It's not always easy, but that's where I'm going to go. So I married this Black woman, and today's her birthday. Well, actually, midnight will be her birthday. So I hope you'll wish her a happy birthday in the chat. And also her website, by the way, is coachingwithdralicia.com. She sees clients on an individual basis. She also sees them. She sees families, stuff like that. She sees couples, stuff like that. So if that's of interest to you and you could use some help in your relationships, feel free to go to coachingwithdralicia.com. I'll put our URL up on the screen. All right. So let's finish up the list here. All right, so other majors that people regret, you got political science and government. A lot of people that study political science, they end up regretting it. And I understand why, because you can learn political science on the internet. You can go read some really good books out here. There are lots of great political scientists out there that do extraordinary analyses, and you don't have to pay, a $400,000 in tuition money over 4 years or whatever, or 200,000, whatever the numbers are now, in order to learn from them. The next major people regret, oddly enough, is biology. I thought that's strange because I guess a lot of people become pre-med and they don't, they end up regretting being pre-med because they don't go to medical school. Maybe that's it. And then next on the list is English literature. And actually, I read this list kind of backward. Actually, the most regretted majors were sociology and liberal arts education. And then journalism was actually number one. Journalism was number one. And they said that 44% of all job seekers with college degrees regret their field of study. So 44%, that's nearly half. Think about that. Nearly half of all Black college graduates or white college graduates regret their major. Like they look back and they think about the money that they spent and they wish they could go get it back. And they'd be more than happy to hand their degree back to the school and then get a refund. I think that's insane. I don't know about y'all. I don't know about y'all, but in the world of business, that would be considered to be a bad investment. That would be considered to be an epic failure. So I don't know why we are so committed to doing things the wrong way that we will continue to do things the wrong way, even if we have seen over and over that it's the wrong approach. I don't know. I just don't get that. And I think that what happens is maybe it's a lack of knowledge or it's a lack of fear. Or maybe because I'm a Black man saying these things, it's not going to get as much attention as if some white guy said it. Maybe if Joe Biden said it or something, people would listen. But I personally will sort of encourage you to really think outside the box. There's a statement where they say that, what is it? That going to college, that going to school will train you on how to be, it'll train you to make a living, and self-knowledge will train you how to be a millionaire. So if you want to really build wealth and stuff like that, you're going to have to learn that on your own. They're not typically going to teach you that in a formal institutionalized setting. The best thing most institutions are going to teach you is how to fit into an institution. And so if you want to be trained to be institutionalized, then that sort of education can work for you. But if your goal is to be free, then the downside is that you become a person that doesn't fit so well into institutions. Like I don't fit well in institutions. I'm pretty much unhireable for the most part. I'm not a guy who can take orders or instructions from someone who knows less than I do. It's hard. I can't let somebody drive the bus if I don't believe that they are a good driver. I can't take orders from an idiot. So I'll question things and I'll say, hey, why are we doing it this way? This doesn't make any sense. That doesn't work well in institutions. You're not supposed to really think or question things. I think that's why in the public school system, your son or your daughter gets punished for asking questions because they don't want you to ask questions. They want you to sit down, shut up, and do what they say. And if you can sit down and shut up and take orders, there's always a place for you in capitalist society. Right? If you know how to turn your brain off and sit down, shut up, do what you're told, then there's always a job for you. There's always a place for you. It's always going to work for you. But for those of you that don't want to sit down and shut up, those of you that actually want to have some agency in your own life and make some decisions and question things, well, then you're going to have to find a way to pay your own bills, because I don't know anybody out here that's going to pay your bills and let you talk crazy to them at the same time. Let me know if you agree with what I'm saying. I think it's unrealistic to think that we can be loud and proud and big and black and bold and then turn around and be like, well, master, after I finish cussing you out, I need you to send me my rent money. I don't know if that works. I don't know. I don't know if that works in the real world. So just keep that in mind. And this is one of the reasons why the ability to make our own money is deeply linked and deeply connected to our ability to truly be free, whatever that is for you, whatever freedom looks like for you. I think your access to freedom goes through the land of money. And if you want to understand money, we got you. In the Black Business School, we're the best on earth at Black wealth. We're the top financial institution on the planet when it comes to what Black people need in terms of specific theories and formulas and processes and systems that will work for the Black community based on what we're going through. So anyway, if you want to take a look at our Black Wealth Mastery store, you can go to drboycebooks.com. That's where my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, is located. I also have a book series called Black American Money. My wife's books are there. She's written workbooks on financial anxiety and dealing with the things that scare you financially and that keep you from investing. We have financial flashcards for children, financial workbooks for children. We have things on love and money, all kinds of stuff. So feel free to go to drboycebooks.com. And also, don't forget, if you look in the bio or in the not the bio, sorry, the description of this video, there's a link to a list of canna stocks that I believe are going to do well when they legalize weed. When the green revolution happens, and I believe that's going to happen in the next 5 years or so, these stocks are expected to do extremely well. I encourage you to consider a diversified portfolio because we don't know which company is going to do well in this space, which companies are going to dominate, but somebody's going to kill it. Some of these companies are going to absolutely kill it. In my opinion, this is my best assessment. So feel free to take a look at the link in the bio, or sorry, the link in the description. You can find it there. And also, if you want to get a copy of that training, How to Make Money Without Working, just pull out your phone and text the word money to the number 87948. So just text money to 87948, and I'll send that link to you right away, and you'll get it right back as soon as you text it. So anyway, guys, I'm out of here. God bless you. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you all, I guess, tomorrow morning for financial consciousness training. If you haven't gotten an invitation for that, you can text the word morning to 87948, and I'll send you an invitation in the morning. So text morning to 87948. I'll see you guys soon. Have a good day. Peace.
People born, I think Gen Zers are born between 1997 and 2012, right? And a lot of you may have seen a lot of these stories and studies about how Gen Zers are really struggling financially. They're really kind of just going through the crap, and kind of really being put through it financially. And it kind of gets harder every generation, it seems like. Where I know this, I think the millennials were the first generation that was expected to not do better than their parents. So Gen Z is kind of the second generation of this interesting decline that has been taking place in America in terms of sort of looking at the American dream and the expectation of prosperity and everything else. And I think that there's something to be discussed with that. And I kind of wanted to kind of address that because a lot of you have children that are in Gen Z. Some of you are in Gen Z. Some of you have grandkids that are in Gen Z, or they're going to be adults soon. Maybe they're teenagers or something like that. And one of the things that, as you guys know, our goal in economic awareness training is to basically kind of be canaries in the mine, right? To be smarter than the average bear. We don't want to fall in the same bear traps as everybody else. I don't want, in hip hop, they have a genre of music called trap music. And I don't want you running around singing trap music all day. I want you to be singing liberation music, right? I want your beat to be a liberation beat, not a trap beat, right? So basically, when you talk about these traps, the thing about getting out of a trap is when they study rats and mice that break out of traps, those rats and mice, they tend to be smarter and they have a little more consciousness about the nature of the trap. Right? Remember we were talking about what economic awareness looks like, what financial consciousness looks like. Consciousness is that awareness. It is higher dimensional thinking capability that would then allow you to be able to see things outside of yourself, right? To be able to see the bigger picture. And so seeing the bigger picture is, to me, I think, critical right now for anybody that is interested or concerned about the economic survival of themselves or their children, because these people ain't playing. This economy is not playing with you. So here's the thing. When I think about what I'm seeing here on an economic front in terms of what's happening with the economy, I really I feel kind of bad because I think that when we don't understand the nature of capitalism, we end up, it's very confusing, right? And I think that a lot of us don't understand, for example, little things like why the hardest working people in America are the ones who make the least money. Like why should some actor in Hollywood who works 10 hours that week make more money than a school teacher who worked 50 hours or whatever? And that kind of, I think, is where the goal, part of my goal is to bust your bubble a little bit and kind of just break down the realities of how things work in America and really make sure you understand that. And to just know that the beauty of it is that if you embrace the fact that the reality you were given is incorrect, then you can become open to the other reality, which is that that if you understand a couple of basic ideas, you're going to be in really good shape. That America is, despite all its flaws, it's still arguably the richest country on earth. It's debatable, right? We have some economic challenges and stuff like that, but we're up there. We're up there as far as the economic titans of the planet. And I would just like for you to really understand these secrets so you can kind of get ahead instead of just sort of being stuck in the righteousness of victimhood. Like sometimes people think that because they complained about a problem or because they proved that they were victimized by a problem or because they have somebody to blame for the problem, that's the same as solving the problem. It reminds me of one of the challenges I've had of being a CEO. If you ever run a business, one thing you'll find is that sometimes if you hire the wrong people, and we've all done that. Anybody who's ever run a business knows what it feels like to hire the wrong person. Then you got to go back and fire people, and it sucks. It's very painful to do. But if you hire the wrong person, then what will happen is that you might have somebody that works with you who thinks that giving you an excuse for why they didn't solve the problem is the same as actually solving the problem. That if I come to you and I say, well, I didn't solve your problem because I had this problem, I had this other issue, this bigger problem, and I could not solve that. So that's why I could not get this done. So from my perspective, kind of as the person running the company who has to get results, who has to get things done, my perspective is, okay, so you're asking me not to pay you to solve a problem. You're asking me to pay you to give me an excuse. Right. And that's not the same. Right. Because I like to work with people, the team that I have, and many of the people on my team have been working with me for at least 5 or 6 years. Right. So they're solid people. We know each other. We understand each other very well. The people that I tend to work with are people that can solve a problem, that will say, yeah, I ran into this issue, Dr. Boyce, and here's what I did to solve the problem. And I say, thank you so much for relieving me of the stress of having to solve the problem myself. That's why you got to hang out with smart people. And my team's very, very smart. I love every one of them. And then also, here's another thing that you run into, and this is something I want you to pay attention to as well, is that sometimes people will think that it's okay for the problem to exist as long as I can blame someone else for the problem. Let me know if you get what I'm saying. So I will so something will go wrong, and I'll maybe I talk to the team and I say, well, what happened? And if you hire the wrong people, what they'll do is they'll start playing the blame game, because they almost like what they do in Congress, right? If something goes wrong, they don't care about solving the problem as much as they care about making sure that it's blamed on somebody else. So it doesn't matter if the problem's there. As long as I can make sure that you, if you're the boss, or for politicians, it might be the voter, as long as, if I'm a Democrat, as long as I make sure you believe me when I tell you that it's the Republicans' fault, then it's okay for the problem to exist. So the problem's still the problem. The problem's still sitting there. The problem's still ruining people's lives. The problem's still getting, a pain in people's butts. But you feel relieved now. You feel like you're off duty now because you've been able to effectively convince me that it's somebody else's fault, that somebody else did it. And that's another thing that I had to, that's the thing. That's one of the other things I had to deal with my team, is I said, look, we're all on the same team, and the problem never gets solved, then that's still everybody's problem. It's not as if, it's okay just because you convinced me that Sally did it and you didn't do it. That doesn't help us achieve our goal as a collective, right? It's collective responsibility for solving a problem. And I really picked this up when I was a kid, and I worked at this restaurant called the Hungry Pelican, and I was a bus boy. And I'll never forget when our manager said something that I thought was actually pretty profound. He said, if the customer needs something and it's not your job and you don't do it, he said, I'm still going to blame you. He said, because serving the customer is everybody's job. He says, making sure the customer is happy is everybody's problem. Even if it ain't your job, it's still your job, if you know what I mean, right? And I look at that in terms of what it's going to take to build a solid family. If you have a solid family, then I would encourage you to consider the idea that doing things for the family is everybody's job. If I go through the kitchen and you left a cup on the counter and I want to have a clean kitchen, I'm going to grab your cup and put it in the sink, even though it ain't my cup. I think that when you talk about the community and all the problems in the Black community, we can sit around and point fingers and say it's the single mother's fault. It's the baby daddy's fault. It's the such and such's fault. And it's like, that's not going to help anybody. You're pointing fingers at everybody. Just do your damn best to try to help solve the problem. And that to me is something that it tends to exist when you have a great team and you have problem solving skills where you actually make progress. And also, it requires a degree of selflessness where you're committed to the bigger cause more than you're committed to having yourself coming out smelling like a rose. And why do I bring all this up? Why do I bring all this up? Well, because let's circle back to millennials and Gen Zs. Millennials and Gen Zs in this economy are getting absolutely screwed. They are getting just spanked. They're getting spanked into the ground financially. And it's become this big nasty financial ditty party where they're being screwed left and right, and it's getting messy. And really, the interesting thing to me is that I see people that will assess the problem without really addressing solutions. They'll just talk about it. They'll say, look at how bad it is for Gen Zs. And then after they talk about how bad it is, they will cry on TikTok and stuff and talk about how hard it is, and then they'll blame someone. They'll find someone to blame. And if you're looking for people to blame, here's some people. Here's some candidates. If you're in the blame game, if you're not in the accountability game or the problem solving game, if you're in the blame game, here's some people to blame. You can blame the government for sure. These policies are terrible, right? It's just basic stuff. Like they're not even teaching them about financial literacy in school. They're teaching them how many genders a person can have and what their pronouns should be. I'm sorry, don't disrespect if that's your thing. I'm okay with that, but I don't know if that should be taught ahead of how to not go into debt or how to buy a house or how to pay your taxes. I think those things should come first, and then maybe after we get past item number 88 of all the other things a person needs to know, then we can start talking about that it's okay for a boy to kiss a boy and whatever. I don't care. I don't judge all that. I'm just saying that shouldn't be high on the priority list. Because when a 32-year-old father is trying to figure out how to feed his kids, he's not trying to figure out how many genders a man or a woman can actually have. He's not trying to, figure out whether or not it's okay for a boy to kiss a boy or whatever. That's not even on his mind. What's on his mind is, how am I going to pay these bills? How am I going to take care of these kids? How am I going to keep my family together? Okay? Because these are life or death decisions. And so the government can be heavily to blame for this. A lot of policies through the years, you can track back to the growth of the national debt, to some of these trade deals like NAFTA and all that, shipping jobs overseas and all that stuff. I mean, you can point to a lot of government policies that really cause these issues. Now, also you can't forget the dysfunctional politicians, right? Our politicians are terrible. They will spend more time fighting each other and finding someone to blame for the problem than they spend actually solving the problem. Like you look at the border crisis, right? A wide open border, millions of people just walking in, terrorists, whoever wants to come in can easily come in. And that's, I think we're going to pay a price for that. And they spend more time saying it's the Republicans' fault or it's the Democrats' fault than they spend actually saying, no, we need to close this border or bad things are going to happen. What else? Who else do you want to blame? You could blame corporate America. Right? Corporate America and their commitment to capitalism has caused basically them to screw a lot of people, a lot of American people, especially young people, because corporations are in the business of making money. They're in the business of trying their best to just make as much money as they possibly can with as little accountability as they can possibly muster. And what this does is it's created a space where, because the space in which they do business is not properly regulated to support and protect workers' rights, you've got a world now where young people are getting these jobs that just are crap, that they can't live off the pay. The inflation rate is insane. The wages are not going up with the rate of inflation. Just something very basic that they can require corporations to do, in my opinion, that would be really beneficial is, if the inflation rate is 6%, then you should get a raise of at least 6%. And that should be considered break even. That shouldn't even be considered a raise. If the cost of living goes up 6%, your pay should go up 6%. What do you think? Give me a yes or no if you think that would be a really simple policy that would really benefit a lot of people. That literally, okay, if the cost of living goes up 6%, we're going to give you at least a 6% raise but really we're going to give you 8 or 9% because you're supposed to get a pay raise anyway. I don't think I don't that's not controversial in my opinion. But if you try to get something like that through Congress, it won't work. Well, why is that? Well, because the corporations have bought your politicians. And so the politicians tend to serve the people who have the money. Even when you talk about what's going on in the Middle East, there's a great political scientist at the University of Chicago. I forgot his name, but I like this guy a lot. And he is absolute beast mode in terms of political science. He's considered one of the GOATs. I don't have his name in front of me, but I listened to a lecture he did about what was happening in the Middle East while I was in the gym. And I was really, really intrigued by his analysis and his breakdown. And one of the things that he said is that in America, the Israelis have this really powerful lobby that where they go in and they pay off all the politicians and they force the politicians to do what they say, even if the American people don't want it. And I said, this is crazy. How can you have a world where money is allowed to dominate your politics in a way where the people that you vote for are able to do what the money tells them to do? They don't have to do what the people tell them to do. And this is one of the reasons why I end up sounding like a cynic when it comes to the voting thing. I'm like, no, really, to some extent, I see the American voter as a commodity, not as a person that has actual agency. So what do I mean by a commodity? Well, if you talk about, let's say you have a chicken farm and all these chickens are going to be shipped off to KFC. And so they're raising these chickens just so they can ship them off and sell them and eat them, right? Well, the farm is dominated by chickens, right? So there's lots of chickens on this farm. So someone who sees lots of chickens on this farm might say that chickens are the most important people on this farm. They're not people, but you get the point. That chickens matter. That chickens are running the farm, and that's not true. Chickens are not running the farm. Chickens are the commodity that's being raised on the farm. They're being managed by the farmer, so the farmer can make money from the chickens. And so I see voters like chickens. We get managed by people that have the money and have the power, right? So the politician gets with the billionaire or the corporation. They say, give me a few $1,000,000 and that will help me get into office. So then they give them a few $1,000,000, and what do? They spend most of that money on advertising. And they say, okay, if you give me X millions of dollars, I can go buy voters because voters will vote for whoever does the best ads and does the most ads. So we're going to go buy a ton of ads, market ourselves to the voters, and then we're going to get the voters to elect us. But once we get elected, we're not going to serve the voters. We're going to serve the people who bought the voters, right? So the farmer isn't working on behalf of the chickens, even though the chickens are contributing the most to the process. Do you understand what I'm saying? Let me know if you're following me. The chickens are making the greatest contribution. The chickens are making the greatest sacrifice, but the farmer is not serving the damn chickens. The farmer is serving the CEO of KFC. Do you follow what I'm saying? The farmer is serving the customer who's paying the money to KFC, which is paying him the money to sell the chickens. He ain't serving the damn chickens. He don't give a damn about those chickens. He has no emotional attachment whatsoever to those chickens, even though the chickens are making the greatest sacrifice. So I think that voters matter in the sense that we are making the greatest sacrifice. We are the ones giving our time to show up to the polls and having our belief and faith in these politicians. But make no mistake about it, in a capitalist society, money is like a god. Money is the boss. Money is the GOAT. Money is the trump card. Money is the dominator. So money is the Shaquille O'Neal of the whole economic basketball court of America. So when money shows up, everything else takes a back seat. So that's one of the reasons why America has fallen apart, because you have money that has tainted your politics. You basically have a world where the drug dealers are running the police station. So you go to the police station to report a drug dealer in your neighborhood, and next thing you know, that drug dealer knows that you filed the report, and then next thing you know, your grandma's house then got shot up, or whatever, or the drug dealer makes sure that your report gets thrown into the trash because they're not. So a naive person would really think I can go to the police station and report the drug dealer, but if you go to a place like Mexico, the drug dealers are, right there. They've fully infiltrated the government to some extent. Countries like Mexico are close to being failed states because the corruption is so deep. So in America, our version of corruption is a type of capitalist corruption where the people with the money are driving American politics. And so one of the things that this political scientist at Chicago, I don't know his name. I wish I could tell you his name. I should say his name. Let me see if I can find it on my phone so I can give you his name. Is he just said that he was explaining that in the Middle East, he said his whole argument was that Israel's kind of cooked because their reputation's been sort of ruined by what's been going on, that they're fighting a war on two fronts, that ultimately the whole Middle Eastern thing is going to be a big win for Iran as a big loss for Israel and the United States. And they said, well, why would the U.S. continue to support this? And he said, because the Israel lobby is so powerful, right? And the politicians won't dare double cross them, right? So let me see. I'm going to try to see if I can find this video so I can tell you what this guy's name is. I can't find the video, and I'm sorry, y'all. But look it up. Look up University of Chicago political science and scientist in Israel, and you can see his speech. It was really, really good. Anyway, okay, so let's go back to the original point. Okay, so let's talk about Gen Z and why they're financially screwed. Okay, so I'm going to give you some breakdowns of what's really happening. I think this is important for you to process for on your own behalf, but then to also make sure you talk to your kids or grandkids about it. You know, if you have somebody in your family that's Gen Z, they probably need to know these things, because if they don't know these things, they're going to get body slammed. All right, so let's see here. Okay, the first reason, one of the first reasons why I wrote down some stuff here, took some notes to make sure we covered everything. One of the reasons that Gen Zers are getting hit pretty hard is that a lot of them are getting really bad jobs. A lot of them are employed in what they call the gig economy, and a lot of them have jobs that are service-oriented jobs. In fact, in 2020, in a study, they found that 40% of Gen Z workers are in pretty low paying service sector jobs. It's very, very hard to pay your bills and sustain yourself when you are working at Applebee's and making $15 an hour or whatever. It's very, very hard to do. And then also on top of that, they're not as inclined or positioned to work together and collaborate through things like whether it's marriage or cohabitation or whatever. And so one way to really solve that problem would be get yourself two or three friends. If you're poor and you get together with two or three poor friends, then there's a good chance that you won't be poor after you do that. If you pull together enough broke people, then eventually you have something that's not broken anymore, which becomes an economic entity that therefore allows you to purchase and buy things and at least get a nicer apartment. And really, the Mexican culture is really good with that. A lot of us make jokes about how people from Mexico will come to America and have 10, 12, 13 people in one apartment. Well, that's the logic, right? If we're all working together as a team, we can get a whole lot more done. So this is why I mentioned to you all that as part of economic training, I would train kids on how to build and manage healthy relationships. You know, my wife does that. My wife is a relationship therapist, and it's really astonishing how hard we have to work to convince people that your many, many, many strings of failed relationships is part of the reason why you're struggling, because you're out here trying to do everything by yourself. Your natural teammates are no longer with you. So now instead of you succeeding together, you are struggling separately. So 1 + 1 is always going to be 2. My income is not bad. My wife's income is not bad, but together our incomes are better as a couple than they are as individuals, right? It's so the logic is pretty straightforward. So I think if I'm in Gen Z and I'm in the struggle, I'm making 15, 16, 18, $20 an hour. I really try to build a healthy relationship with some people that I trust, with clear contracting, right? Just clear standards and expectations so that we can go do something together. So that means like if we go get an apartment together, we're both on the lease. Maybe we even get some sort of a contract on Rocket Lawyer or something to make sure that everything's clear. There's no misunderstandings. Nobody's going to get screwed. And then we go out here and we do things together that help us to both succeed. And then while we're living in the same house, maybe if we're both entrepreneurially minded, we build wealth in another way, which is basically we get together in the kitchen and we come up with business ideas and we talk about ways we can make money together. I think that is a great way to be successful. In fact, right now, we're in California, and my wife works with 2 young people who they're probably about the Gen Z, maybe Gen Z millennial cusp, and they were here, and they were staying somewhere in LA, and it was really expensive, and we said, hey, we got space in the house, just come stay at the house, right? And we'll all just pile up in the house and just find somewhere to sleep, and we'll all save money that way, right? And so effectively, what that also allows for is it allows for not just the ability to save money, it allows for collaboration, right? Which allows you to make money. So when they're here, rather than us going across town to work with them, or them coming across town and spending $80 on an Uber ride, we're all right there. I bump into them in the kitchen and we're talking about ideas in the kitchen and doing things right there in the living room. I'm saying, hey, let's just shoot some stuff outside and let's just do this and let's just do that. You see what I mean? So effectively, getting together is really more powerful than you can imagine. It's something that I think is heavily overlooked as a wealth building mechanism. Just find the people you love who have their heads screwed on straight and find ways to get together. And this idea that I think when we let go of the idea of people living together in the same house who were not married, I think that we really lost something. We lost that connection that really allows for just these extraordinary possibilities. But here's the challenge, though. The more you're in each other's space, the more you've got to learn how to be a decent citizen in that space. You understand? You can't all this this stuff I see in terms of a lot of narcissism and selfishness and lack of conflict resolution ability is costing you. It costs you a lot when you are just so caught up in your ego that you take a stand and and then you refuse to back down, and I'm not settling, I'm not letting nobody walk all over me, just those kinds of attitudes. It's really bad because what it does is it breaks down relationships and keeps you from having the ability to collaborate. So you might be the toughest, baddest person on the block, but you'll be standing there all by yourself, trying to figure it out all by yourself. So attitude really is everything. Thank you, Calvin. That's a great word. Thank you. It's morning. I'm still finding my words, but attitude is really everything. So if I'm sitting in a space with somebody that's going to help me to achieve a goal, if I'm sitting with somebody in a group or a group of people where I know for a fact that we are better off as a team, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do everything I can to put my ego to the side so that I can really, really help the team to win, and so that I can keep the team together. That's the goal, right? So literally that we're doing that literally right now. So right now we're sitting there with these two. They're about 30 and 31. That's their ages, and so think about this. So the fact that we're all in the house together means we're probably going to have 10 times more conversations than we would have had if they were across town. And also their benefit as young people is that they get to have a lot of conversations with Dr. Boyce just walking by in the kitchen, right? I know some things. My wife knows some things, and they're figuring things out. We can help them figure things out. This is intergenerational knowledge transfer. Very important for the Black community. I think it's an underutilized resource, but it's $1 trillion asset because your elders know things, your parents know things, your grandparents know things, your great-grandparents, they understand life before integration. They can tell you things that can really help you solve modern day problems. Most of these problems that people have are very solvable. You're just not getting information from the right people. If you're a 25-year-old talking to another 25-year-old, that's a dumbass talking to a dumbass. No disrespect. You're not, I'm not saying that you're completely dumb. Some of you are geniuses, but you don't know as much as you're going to know 20 years from now. That's just a fact. That's a fact. So get in a space with older people that can help you understand things. We saw some of the same stuff you're dealing with now. We saw that stuff in the 90s and the 2000s, and we saw problems that you've never seen before. But then at the same time, here's the benefit that we receive being my wife's 50th birthday is coming up. It's actually tomorrow. And so we're not, in our 20s anymore. So here's what I benefit from when I am talking to them as younger people. I'm getting a whole different perspective. I'm getting a lot of creativity that I maybe didn't have before. I'm getting caught up. They're helping me get in tune with what people in their age bracket are thinking about. So they went out to the store. They went to the mall with my wife. They went. She chronicles all this on her Instagram. If you go to Coaching with Dr. Alicia, you can see. So they were chronicling this. But anyway, so they were at the mall and they came back with all these clothes, and I thought they were dressing Alicia, and they were like, Dr. Boyce, we got you some outfits too. And I opened up and I'm looking at the clothes. I'm like, okay, these are not clothes I would have bought for myself. And they're like, no, we want you to be hip to the youth. And I'm like, I thought I was already hip, So, but the funny thing was, I like that, right? I like that energy and I like that creativity they're bringing because you don't understand the value of ideas. What you have to understand is that Hollywood is one example of a place where ideas can be worth billions of dollars. I mean, really, one idea, just some spark in the ether that connects you to this wormhole of possibilities that you didn't know existed. The simple idea of Mickey Mouse, the idea of Mickey Mouse came about after Walt Disney had hit his lowest point. Walt Disney had been, he was working for some company back at a time where the companies would fire you and they would take all your intellectual property. So he went all the way from California to New York on a long train ride with his mother, thinking that they were going to give him a raise and a promotion. Instead, they fired him. And they didn't just fire him, they took away all of the characters, all of the content he had created for them up until that point. So he's going back to California and he's really depressed. And he, through collaboration, he's just sitting there talking to his mother and he says, you know, Mom, I'm thinking about creating a new character and it's going to be a mouse. And she says, what are you going to name it? He says, I'm going to call him Mortimer Mouse. And she goes, no, that's too complicated. Just call him Mickey. And that's where Mickey Mouse is born. And to this day, the idea of Mickey Mouse, the concept of Mickey Mouse, just the existence of Mickey Mouse as a concept is worth billions and billions of dollars and has created a massive, massive generational legacy to the point where when I say the name Disney, all of y'all know what that means. Tell me if you follow what I'm saying. This one little idea, this one little collaboration, the fact that he was in the same space with his mama, right? He wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna be across town. Mama gonna be all right. I'll talk to mama once a month. No, he was on this long train ride, forced to be in this space with his mother, which could be seen as a liability, right? A lot of people are like, God, I don't want to sit in the same space with my relatives for 2 whole weeks or whatever it takes to ride the train across the country. But that was a blessing for him. Do you understand? That was a blessing. So a lot of times your biggest blessings are right there all around you. You got to learn how to see them. You got to learn how to look at that bright side. So let's circle back. If I'm sitting in this house and I have all these people in this house, young and old, there's about 6 of us in here, something like that. What blessings abound here? What billion-dollar ideas might spark because the 13-year-old says something to me that I never would have thought about because I'm not 13 anymore? Or what blessing might I give when I say something to the 31-year-old that they never would have thought about because I have experience and I know and I've seen things. Do you understand? Right? So what I want you to do is I want you at some point to find your billion-dollar blessing. Get with, and it's easy to find. It's hard. It's actually difficult to find it, but it's easy to do. And what I mean by that is just spend time with each other. Get into this idea that says that wealth is created when people come together and when they collaborate. That's what that was when Walt Disney's mother gave him the idea of Mickey Mouse. That was a collaboration. They might not have called it that. It might have just been seen as a mother and son talking, but you see what happens. If his mother had not been there, Mickey Mouse wouldn't exist. That's billions of dollars in wealth that would not exist if his mother had not been in that room. So I want you to process this for me, and I need you to help go with me on this. This is a consciousness exercise right now. I want you to imagine how many billions of dollars in wealth have been lost because you weren't in the room with each other. How many great business ideas might you have come up with? You think about a friend that you used to have. That it makes me really sad when I see 2 people that used to be close friends that become mortal enemies because there's a thin line between love and hate. And I say, gosh, it makes me sad when I see 2 people that should be friends who hate each other's guts. Now, instead of building each other up, they're trying to destroy each other because they can't nobody destroy you better than somebody who used to be your close friend because they know all your secrets. They know all your weaknesses. They know all the areas where they can really hit you where it hurts. And that's just terrible to watch, right? So ultimately, I just want you to process this, and I want you to think about this in terms of Black trauma and a lack of a conflict management or conflict resolution skill, right? Or conflict management. And I want you to think about the opposite of that, though. Well, what if you are great? What if you're trained on conflict resolution? There's training for this. Y'all do know that they have classes on how to reduce a conflict. And in fact, that political scientist I told you about that was talking about the Israelis, he said one of the problems that the Israelis have is that their conflict resolution skills are somewhat limited, especially under Benjamin Netanyahu, who's their current president. He said their belief is that if you punch us one time, we're going to punch you 35 times. If you take 2 of ours, we're going to kill 200 of yours. So we're going to escalate the conflict because our goal is to dominate you so badly that you're going to give up. And the problem is that the Palestinians don't give up very easily. And so this is going to make things hard for them. So the same thing is true in a lot of relationships and friendships and families. I've noticed is that there are some people who get into a conflict who escalate. If you come at them at level 1, they're gonna come at you at level 3. You get loud, they're gonna get louder. right? A lot of y'all know people like this. Give me a yes if you know people like that, right? Who just want to take everything over the top all the time because they get emotionally triggered because of undiagnosed, untreated trauma. And when they get triggered, they go crazy, they go berserk, and they blow the whole building up, right? Because their goal is to try to dominate. Well, the hard part is that you get two people like that together, then eventually you're just going to have a nuclear bomb go off, and it's a relationship version of a nuclear bomb, and things don't work. So let me tell you a little secret. Did y'all know this? Did you know that they did a study at Ohio State University where they were able to predict which couples were going to stay married and which ones were going to get divorced by listening to them argue for like 5 minutes? They could listen to couples argue for 5 minutes and they could tell with like 95% accuracy who was going to make it and who wasn't. And from what I gathered from the study, I got to ask my wife about it. She's the one who studies this stuff all the time. From what I gathered, it all came down to like, how do you respond when you get into a conflict? Are you an escalator or are you a de-escalator? Do I try to listen to you and empathize and understand you, or do I try to yell at you, counterattack you, and dominate you? If you accuse me of something, do I get defensive or do I try to hear where you're coming from so I can respond? Whatever it is, right? There's like these little tiny little skills that I just encourage you to look into, because what will happen is that you'll have that ability to maintain your healthiest relationships, which will then allow you to go and achieve things. Okay, because if Walt Disney had gotten into a big fight with his mother and they weren't speaking, Mickey Mouse would not exist. So a lot of your best business ideas in the Black community, a lot of your best wealth building opportunities in the Black community, your best collaborations in the Black community don't exist because two people got into a fight and got into their feelings and chose not to de-escalate. That's what it is. And then pride kicks in, and next thing you know, your back is all stiff. Some of y'all got relatives right now that you ain't talked to for many, many years, where a lot of that can be resolved if you just humbled yourself and apologized and said, I'm sorry about what I did to you, even if you didn't do anything wrong. That's the hard part, is when you're, because I was like, wait, I gotta apologize even if I didn't do nothing wrong. And there's a way, there's like a process, right? I can't even explain it all, but it's hard. But I know that it does come down to, like Calvin, there you go with another great word, humility. I think humility is really valuable. And what I really want you to think about is I want you to look at the culture. And the culture, which is heavily influenced by hip hop is a lot of things, but humble is not one of them. Humility is frowned upon in the hip hop culture, right? It's about arrogance and dominance and bragging and everything else. And I kind of think that that's counter to what you want to do when it comes to building wealth. So let me go back to let me go back to where I was with Gen Z and everything. And I think Gen Zers can learn from that, right? So you form healthy relationships with good people, your chances of being economically successful are much, much higher. Another problem Gen Zers have is wage stagnation. There have been massive increases in productivity, but wages for service jobs really haven't kept up with inflation. And we mentioned that earlier. COVID-19 kicked Gen Zers in the butt a lot, especially those that are in their early 20s. You're in high school, they got this thing with the virus and they're overreacting to it. In my opinion, I felt like they kind of pushed it too far. They kept things shut down a little bit too long. And a lot of young people really suffered psychological damage from that. My wife is a therapist. She says the therapist offices have been filled with people since 2020 who still haven't gotten over the pandemic. Also, educationally speaking, the kids now are just like at least a year dumber than they would have been otherwise, because they pretty much missed a whole year of school. Also, another challenge Gen Zers are running into is high rent. Basically, rent prices have gone up in a lot of urban areas. A report from 2020 highlighted that in cities like New York and San Francisco, over 30% of Gen Zers were spending more than half of their income on rent. So again, remember, the assumption in these studies is that you're doing it all by yourself. So if you're doing it all by yourself, yeah, it's going to be hard. But if you got two people that are both spending 50% of their income on rent, and let's say each of them is renting an apartment for $2,000 a month. Let's say that they got together and so if I'm renting an apartment for $2,000, you're renting an apartment for $2,000, and I'm paying half of my income for rent. You're paying half of your income for rent. So I'm paying my $1,000. Sorry, scratch that. Let me do that again. Sorry, I got it wrong. So my income is $4,000. $2,000 is going toward rent. Your income is $4,000. $2,000 is going toward rent. Okay, so we got total income of $8,000. Total rent of $4,000, because 2 and 2. Right now, let's say that we both get together and we say, let's get a place that's bigger. Let's get a place for $3,000. Right, so we're going to get a nice fancy place, and we're going to have what they call economies of scale. So now we are living together. We find some way to collaborate and to work together and to get along. And so now total rent is 3,000. Total income is still 8,000. So 3 divided by 8 is 37.5%. So now instead of spending 50% of our income on rent, we're now spending 37% of our income on rent. We've gone down to a much more manageable level. And now we've got that surplus. We got that 12.5% surplus that can then be applied to investing, saving for a down payment on a house, or maybe starting that business. And then on top of that, because you're smart and I'm smart, I'm a good person, you're a good person. We also are talking to each other every day in the kitchen or whatever. And we're both trying to figure out, okay, how are we going, what's our next move? How are we going to make money? One thing that people should understand is like when Mark Zuckerberg and people like that were creating companies like Facebook, one of the things they used to do was they would all get together and live in the same house. And you would say, well, why would they do that? Some of them were literally billionaires at that point. Some of them had little startups that have become worth like $100 million or whatever. And they weren't trying to go and just get big mansions and live all alone. They understood that power of collaboration, that power of being together. So and that it worked, right? So you go to sleep, and because when you're young, you kind of want to be on the grind. I personally believe that. I believe any young person who's ambitious and wants to be successful, I think in your 20s, that's your grind time, and really part of your 30s to some extent. And so you want to grind. It's like you eat, sleep, and work. That's kind of, at least I don't know, that's what I've seen as far as people that are really ambitious and really want to go to the top. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. At least that's what I used to do. My mistake, though, is that I did it all by myself because I was working on a PhD in finance and I didn't know people that were at that level. I just didn't. When I got my doctorate in finance, there was no other African American on the planet getting that degree that year. And to be honest with you, I think my trauma was because I'd been hurt so bad by white people. I just didn't know how to live and coexist with a white person. Their culture was different. I didn't like being mistreated. I didn't like being disrespected. And what makes it sad though is that I met a lot of white people that were not bad people, or maybe if I could let my guard down, I could have gotten along with them and we could have been okay. But y'all know what it is. I don't know if anybody else has gone through this, but like you just go through stuff and you just don't know. You're just sitting there like you meet a nice white person and you're confused and you're like, okay, at what point is the other shoe gonna drop? Like at what point are you gonna start acting white? Because right now you're just being nice. When are you gonna start acting white? That's what I felt, and the thing is, it's so subtle. It's such a subtle thing that you can't really point out exactly what it is, but you can just kind of tell. Like, let me just tell you like this. One thing I did notice, to be honest with you, is that whenever I met a white person who treated me like an equal, who was fair to me, who wasn't condescending or disrespectful, it was usually a white person from another country. It usually was. I knew this white lady in college. I never dated a white woman, and I never thought about that. But I knew this white lady who was super nice, and she had a lot of black friends, and she just kind of blended in. She just fit in. She was with anyone. She was a great lady. And I remember asking her how she grew up, and she said, "Oh, I was raised in Germany, and my parents, we lived in Saudi Arabia. Like she had lived in all these other countries except the United States, and that's honestly what made sense." And then there was another person, my dissertation chairman. His name was Andrew Caroli. So smart. He's look him up. His name is spelled Karoyli or something. And anyway, I think he's at Cornell University now. He's a great guy. And he was always really nice to me, and he helped me get my PhD. And he was from Canada, right? So it was interesting that the people that I met that were white that really were nice to me were usually people from other countries, because there is just sort of this really subtle underbelly of racism or white supremacist mindset that does exist in America. And because I'm not a white supremacist, I don't bow to any of that. I barely acknowledge any of that. Like you can think you're superior to me all day long, but that don't make you superior. It's just a figment of your imagination. So when your belief in your own superiority bumps into the fact that I don't acknowledge any of that, that creates a conflict. That creates a problem. Like you're expecting me to bow, and I'm not bowing. I don't bow. I'm not bowing to you. You're dumber than you. You don't have any education. You don't have any achievement. Like I'm not saying you're nothing. I'm just saying what makes you think you're better than me. There's no justification for any of that. So I think that an inability to acknowledge the delusion of white supremacy, I think, makes you a bad fit for certain spaces, right? So anyway, but long story short, if I go back in time and I think about that time, I wish I could have gotten my therapy when I was younger so I could learn how to kind of get that chip off my shoulder so that I could open that door to receive support when it was genuine and when it was legitimate. And I don't know if I had that, to be honest with you. Right? So anyway, let me keep going here. Let me dig in a little bit more on this millennial thing. Another thing is that millennials have Gen Zers and millennials really have a hard time coming up with down payments. According to the National Association of Realtors, they reported that 63% of Gen Zers cited high home prices as a major barrier to home ownership. Student loans are a big problem. A lot of young people are hit hard with student loans because the cost of college tuition has gone up. When they made that debt available to people, all the universities did was they pumped up the price. Because what happens in economics is that whenever you increase the supply of money in a certain space for what they call an inelastic commodity, meaning when you have something that everybody feels like they need and they're going to buy it at any price, and you just pump money into that little space, you're going to push up the prices. So, for example, let's say that we were a bunch of crackheads and every morning we got to have our crack no matter what. A crackhead is not sensitive to the price of crack. They just got to have it. So if the price of crack is $20 an ounce or something, then we're going to pay $20 an ounce. And so if they push the price up to $50 an ounce, well, we're going to pay $50 an ounce because you need your crack, right? And then let's say that on top of that, they say, well, the price of crack is getting pretty high. And because, these government policies, some of them are so goofy and stupid. I think there are policies where they give away needles and all right. So let's say there's a government policy that says, the price, the crack is way too high and it's costing too much and we want to help people out. So what we're going to do is we're going to announce a crack financing program where you can get a crackhead credit card and you can buy your crack on the credit card, right? So let's say that and then on every credit card, they give you $50,000 limit where all of us can get our crack and we can pay the $50 price, right? Y'all follow me? Give me a yes if you follow me. I know it's a goofy analogy, but I think it's fun to laugh a little bit because sometimes I get way too serious. Right, so all of us have our crackhead credit card. Well, why is that? Well, because the government wanted to help us by giving us financing to afford the increasing cost of crack because the price used to be 20, now it's 50. Can't buy it for a $50 crack. I mean, come on, that's crazy, right? So now we got the crackhead credit card. So here's what's going to happen. So the dope dealer is peeping all this out. The dope dealer is like, okay, I have customers that are going to come back no matter what. And let's assume that the supply of crack can't be increased very much. The Colombians shipped in a certain amount, they can't get more, so they've only got the same amount. What do you think the dope dealer is going to do now that he knows that you have access to the crackhead credit card, that you can pay any price that he charges you? What do you think he's going to do to the price? What do y'all think? Answer me in the chat. I'm going to give you a moment to process that. He's going to jack up that price. He's like, wait a minute, I have a captive audience who has an infinite supply of money now, or a ton of money, a lot more than they had before, and we have a limited supply. So I'm just going to raise the price. Now, instead of paying $50 for your crack, you're going to pay $200. And I know you're going to pay it because you're a crackhead and you got to have your crack in the morning. So basically, the dope dealers are the universities. The crack is a college degree because a lot of us grow up believing that you have to have a college degree no matter what the price is. They could charge you $1 billion to get a college degree. And as long as the government supplies your crackhead credit card, which is student loans, then you'll pay any price. Why? Because all you got to do when you're 18, all you got to do is sign the paper. And then you get to party for 4 years. So just sign the paper, right? And then you're in debt for the rest of your life. And we're going to give you your crack, which is your degree. And then you figure you worry about paying it back later. So what's going to happen is 10 or 15 years later, you're going to have all these crackheads that have maxed out credit cards. They're going to have $50,000 in debt because as the price went up, they kept buying the commodity. So because there's no controls over the process, nobody said, so what would have been better is if the government says, look, we will fund with the crackhead credit cards, but we're going to go to the dealer and say, you cannot increase the price. You cannot exploit the fact that your customers now have more money. You have to keep the prices controlled and constrained, right? Which is still hard to do, right? Just for various reasons I won't go into. But that at least trying to do that would have been fine. But they didn't do that with universities. They supplied all the student loan debt because they said the price of college is too high. So the way we're going to help people afford college is we're going to provide all this financing for these 18-year-olds to go to school and whatever. And they didn't tell the universities, look, you can't keep on taking advantage of this. You can't act like the neighborhood drug dealer and keep increasing the price of a college degree. But that's what they did. If you look at most studies that show you how the cost of tuition has gone up relative to inflation, it's a horrific chart. It's the scariest. It's scarier than a horror movie. These universities exploited the fact that they've only got so many seats in their campus. People will pay anything to have them, and the government will supply these people with an infinite amount of debt in order to get that done. So now you have a student loan debt crisis. And then on top of that, what they do to further trap you is Joe Biden and his buddies. And again, I'm not telling you not to vote for Biden. I'm just telling you the facts. Go look it up. They got together because because the corporations have paid him money to do this. The banks. He was from Delaware, and there's a lot of banks in Delaware. And they said, okay, we've got all these little crackheads that owe us money on the crackhead credit cards. Instead of crackheads, they were college graduates. So they owe us this money, and we want to make sure they pay, right? Because think about this, right? So on the crackhead credit card, so you how do you enforce that? How do you make sure that the crackheads pay the money back? Because they're crackheads, they don't pay stuff back, right? Well, you have to force them to do it. You have to show up and say, we're gonna break your legs, we're gonna shoot your mama, right. So ultimately, the government's like, okay, or sorry, the banks are like, we need to get our money back. We don't want all these students when they get to be 35, 40 years old to realize the mistake they made and then go and declare bankruptcy and get out of the debt. So we need you to help us trap them. So what they did was they passed a law that said that if you have student loans, you can, and you get a bankruptcy, you can declare bankruptcy on everything that you want except for your student loans. And that's how we got to where we are right now. So ultimately, these little debt traps are real. It's gotten worse in every generation. It's gotten to the point where I went from being a person 20 years ago who was an extreme advocate of going to college. My first book was called Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About College, because I really wanted our people to go to college. I wanted them to know all the secrets to doing well. It's not that hard to make straight A's in college. I figured out the formula as a student, and I really knew the formula as a professor. So I just said, okay, let me just dump everything I know so that when you go to college, you're not going in there blind, deaf, and dumb. Like this whole idea of making an excuse of saying, well, the reason I struggled in school is because I'm a first generation college student. I don't buy that, to be honest with you, because there's people out there that have all the information that you need, all the mentorship that you need. It's not like I was hiding from anybody. I've been around doing this thing whatever it is that I do now. I've been doing this for 20 years. I've been available on the internet for 20 years. So stop this nonsense about, well, because I'm a first generation, that's why I have a C average. No, well, did you do your best? Did you do your best? And a lot of times you'll find that they didn't do their best. They just went to college and just took the victim seat, and they just sat in the victim seat and assumed that was good enough for actually not achieving the result that they're looking for. So anyway, let me finish up with this part about Gen Zers. Okay, so this is why they're financially screwed. And after I explain to you why they're screwed, I'm going to tell you a couple of solutions. And some of them might sound familiar. Some of them hopefully will sound new. So let's see here. First off, they talk about a lack of financial literacy preparation. According to FINRA, only 24% of Gen Z respondents could answer basic financial literacy questions correctly. Debt management. Without proper financial education, many Gen Zers struggle with managing debt, including credit cards and loans. This can lead to high interest payments and long-term financial instability. Investment knowledge. Understanding investment options and strategies is crucial for building wealth, but many Gen Z individuals lack this knowledge. A 2021 study showed that fewer than 30% of Gen Zers felt confident about their knowledge of investing and saving for the future. So this is where that discipline piece comes into play. We've talked about this. The other day, did y'all see the other day when Nicki Minaj got arrested in Amsterdam? Did y'all see that when she got arrested for, I guess, possessing weed? And I was really surprised by that because I thought weed was legal in Amsterdam. I thought Amsterdam was where you go if you want to smoke weed without getting arrested. I didn't know that weed was illegal in Amsterdam. But anyway, so I saw Nicki Minaj get arrested in Amsterdam for smoking weed, and I saw a little clip of it because I keep up with the culture. I like to see what people are paying attention to. And I saw her Instagram, and she had like 28,000 people on her Instagram feed. And I said, wow, that's crazy. That's a lot of people. And so I thought about that. To this morning, I was thinking, all those 28,000 people that were paying really close attention to some rapper getting arrested in another country, some rapper that will never, ever help them pay any bills, some rapper who does not know them or their family, some rapper who does not care about them. Because like, I wonder how many of those people would be just as interested in learning how to manage wealth and finances that will put food in the mouths of their children. I wonder how many of those people will be just as interested in learning how to feed your family as you are interested in Nicki Minaj getting arrested in Amsterdam because somebody in her crew decided to bring some weed. I wonder if it sounds rude or uppity of me to say that perhaps that is a cultural problem that for all this lack of financial literacy, which is really one of the biggest challenges, that's one of the biggest problems, one of the biggest reasons that we get financially screwed. I wonder if it's uppity for me to say maybe if you spent as much time learning how to be financially intelligent as you spend paying attention to rappers getting arrested in Amsterdam for carrying weed and having a comment on it, like being in the shade room, really having a whole debate about it. Uh, I wonder if your life will be a little bit better. Again, now, when I say that, of course, there are people that say, "Oh, you're just being uppity and whatever." Well, maybe we need to all be a little bit more uppity in the sense of having a little bit more self-respect. I will never in my life ever, and even when I was 20 years old, I can say this: I will never in my life ever be more concerned about the life of some goofball celebrity who don't give a damn about me than I am in feeding my children. I love my kids more than I love Nicki Minaj. I like Nicki Minaj, actually. I think she's very talented. I think she's had a great career, and God bless her. She's resilient as hell. I mean, like, I follow the hip hops. I've seen the ups and the downs. I saw when she did the video with Tekashi 6ix9ine, and everybody said, "You're doing a video with a snitch." I know these things, right? I watch these things. These are interesting things to me, right? But I will never care more about Nicki Minaj or whatever she's going through than I care about feeding that lady over there in the bed and the children that are in this house. I put us first. I put me first. I put this first. I'm not putting that first. So I thought about that as I just saw thousands and thousands of people clamoring to watch Nikki go back and forth and argue with the guy who's arresting her because she had weed. And so, because here's the thing, if you if you listen to what I've broken down today in terms of why so many people in Gen Z are struggling financially, you'll notice that one of the biggest drivers is a lack of financial literacy. And here's the thing I can tell you as a person with a PhD in finance, I have to say that so that people don't think I'm a financial influencer. I'm not no damn financial influencer. I'm a finance professor. I'm not trying to influence nothing. I'm trying to just tell you how the science works. I know the science. So I can tell you as a finance professor that the solutions to these problems are incredibly simple. You just got to pay attention. That's it. You just got to pay attention. That's why I said, I need a class on financial consciousness. Pay attention. That's it. Because you were paying very close attention when you were watching Nicki Minaj argue with this police officer in a situation that ain't got nothing to do with you. When Nicki get out of jail, she's not sending you a check. Nicki does not care that your 5-year-old is living in the projects because you didn't get your shit together. Nicki don't care about the fact that the landlord is knocking at your door tomorrow and you hiding whenever he comes. She don't care. So all you got to do, so you don't really have to pay money. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be born with a silver spoon in your mouth. You don't have to have an advanced degree. All you have to do is pay attention. Pay attention to the people that can share things with you, or the books out there that you can read that will give you financial literacy. It is a lack of financial literacy that drives all these economic problems. In fact, when you talk about the debt, financial literacy helps you to spot the debt when it's coming. You're financially conscious. So you're like, whoa, I'm not signing that. Think about it. Remember the movie Straight Outta Compton? Anybody remember the movie Straight Outta Compton? And I love telling this story about my friend Ice Cube because I thought it was great. It's a great basic financial consciousness lesson. Anybody remember when Ice Cube was sitting there with NWA and Jerry Heller, the person who's comes from a very financially conscious community, said, okay, I'm going to run a rope-a-dope on these Negroes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put $80,000 checks in front of all of them and a brand new sports car in the driveway to give them the visual so I can distract them with bright, shiny objects. And then I'm going to say, hey, you can have all this. All you got to do is sign this piece of paper, right? And everybody signed because their economic consciousness was not very high. They were thinking like teenagers, which most teenagers do. The only person that did not sign was Ice Cube. Ice Cube was like, I'm not signing a 30-year contract with you just so I can get an $80,000 check in a sports car. I'm not doing that. So a lot of times, so what was Ice Cube doing? He was paying attention. That's it. The others were distracted. So when you look around in the community and you look online and you see these weapons of mass distraction, that's your problem right there. Because it's not a lack of intelligence. We have very intelligent people. We have people that can literally break down and give you a complete assessment of Nicki Minaj's legal situation over in Amsterdam and what the law tells you about having marijuana in that country. Right? So you got smart people that can really break down, how many babies mamas NBA YoungBoy has. NBA YoungBoy, in case you don't know, he's another rapper, just kind of interesting guy, right? They can tell you all these things, but so it's not a lack of intelligence. It's not a lack of opportunity. There are opportunities to learn are everywhere. Maybe in the 1950s you could say, well, this is what they don't tell us, and the rich people, they keep it from us and they hide it from us. That, and people still use that language, but what the hell are they hiding from you? You got the whole damn internet on your phone. You got access to all kinds of information. You can go read right now. You can go read the whole history of the Rothschild family going back 400 years and learn every single detail about how they did business. You can learn all kinds of investing strategies and everything right there on your phone. But the question becomes, and this is a big question for Gen Zers, is are you paying attention? Because your generation has been hit with more weapons of mass distraction than any generation before you. You look at a 14-year-old, they are glued to their phones. Attention span is 8 seconds long, and they're jumping from video to video, scrolling through TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever, all day long. That's what they're doing. So they're not. So you're distracted, and while you're distracted, it's like they drugged you at a Diddy party. That's what it is. I'm sorry for me giving a crude analogy, but it is. Think about it. Think about what they said happened at the Diddy parties. They would drug you, right, so that your consciousness is gone. A person that's on drugs isn't conscious of what's happening to them, and that's when they're doing their business. That's when they're screwing you, literally and figuratively, is while you're unconscious. So that's what they do. They get you to be unconscious, and then they start screwing you because there are economically aware, economically conscious people who worship the god of money, who are figuring out how they can herd the sheep all in the same direction. And the next thing you know, you wake up, you're 35 years old, you hate your job, you're not making the money that you need to make, you're under a lot of financial stress, the debt burden is so high that you are just depressed. You don't even look at the financial statement because you're so sad about how much debt you have. And you're looking back at your life and you're like, damn, how did I get here? What happened here? That's what happens when you're not conscious. Whenever you're not conscious, you kind of just slide into stuff and you get stuck in situations you don't know how you got there because you weren't paying attention the whole time. You were distracted by the bright, shiny thing in front of you the whole time. And you didn't see the accumulation of bad decisions or the accumulation of bad outcomes that was being thrust upon you. You didn't see them building the prison all around you. And then by the time you realize that you're in prison, it's kind of late. You're 40 something years old and you're trying to go back and reverse the last 25 years of choices. So I would almost say that if I'm coaching a young person on economics, and I talk to a lot of young people, that quite a few. I've interacted with a lot, especially on shows like The Breakfast Club and all that. And I'm glad some of them listened to me when I would go in those spaces. But I would literally say the number one variable in good economic outcomes is simply financial consciousness. Are you paying attention? If you're not paying attention, you're going to be toast. Because remember, the other thing about America that people forget is that the white American male is one of the most economically savvy human beings on the planet. He's raised from birth to extract wealth from people who are not paying attention. That's just what it is. And to be more specific, there are specific pockets of Americans, and I'm not going to talk about that, but you know what I'm talking about, where they are trained to be economic ninjas from the time that they're little kids. They're trained to watch. And let me give you an example of where economic awareness was critical in terms of a certain outcome. I remember being on a cruise ship. And I told you guys I love to play poker. Poker is a fun game. It's a great game of strategy, psychology, and math. And I'm a pretty good poker player. I like to brag about that. I hope that's okay. But yeah, I've won some tournaments with hundreds of people and stuff like that. Because it's a game. There's luck, but there's a lot of strategy, psychology, and math. And that's why this is a fun game to play. So anyway, I'm sitting, and at this time though, I had just learned how to play. And I remember being at this table on this cruise ship, and there was this really rich lady from Australia who had like she had a big old rock on her finger, like a big old because she had just got married and she had a big rock. She was showing everybody her rock, and she was drinking a lot and she had lots of money. And she was just, she was just playing for fun. She was just throw money out there, bet another $200, another $300, and because she was half drunk and money's not a thing, so her consciousness level was very low, right? And she's just throwing all this money out there. But there was another guy who looked to me like a guy who didn't have a lot of money. He would come to the table every day, and he didn't seem to he didn't seem like a rich guy. He was very, very quiet, and he was sitting there watching this woman, this very loud, gaudy, half drunk woman with the big rock on her finger, throw all this money out there. And the whole time, all he was doing was taking all her money. He was watching everything she did, how she played, every move she made, so that he could literally get all the money out of her. And he did. He got thousands of dollars out of her. And I don't know how she felt after it was done. Maybe she didn't care. But that made me think about awareness because he was the whole time she's not watching anything. He's watching her very closely. And this makes me think about the economy. There are people that are watching you very closely. There are, we've got the drunk side of our community that's trapped in the culture, that is living for the moment, that is caught up in the nonsense, that's distracted by bright, shiny objects. And, everything's a party, everything's a joke. Lots of comedians love to follow love to get in the comedy culture, the joke, everything's a joke culture, everything's ha ha ha, blah blah blah, right? Very childish, very immature culture. It's very unfortunate. Not all of it, but some of it, right? And then you got people that are just watching that are saying, okay, this is how the African Americans move. They follow the celebrities. If you put a product on a wrapper, they will definitely buy your product. They give all their money away. They're not very financially literate. They love status symbols. Black people love the status symbols. So if you make them feel better about themselves and that they have more status, then they will go buy that luxury car. They will go buy that purse they can't afford. They will go purchase these bright, shiny objects if you present it in a certain way. They study you. In Nielsen, what Nielsen is, they do the TV ratings, and they were explaining to corporations how to make money off the African American community. And they said African Americans, I remember they mentioned that they consume more media than anyone else. They're easily distracted by media. They love social media a lot. And if you position your products in this way, this is how you can extract a big chunk of their wealth because they've got lots of it. Or if you watch another video online, a lot of you've heard of it, Ebony Magazine called How to Sell to the Negro. And they literally studied you like you're rats in a lab. So they're very economically aware in terms of really analyzing their prey, understanding like, okay, how you move and how you think and what matters to you and what you're doing. And then they position themselves so they can get the money, no differently from the guy who was on the cruise ship, who was watching the rich lady, who was half drunk, who wasn't very conscious, who wasn't thinking about what she was doing, throw money around. So anyway, so that video, How to Sell to the Negro, I'm sure it's out there on YouTube. You should watch it. It's really interesting. They made it in the 1950s, and it wasn't completely insulting. It was just more like, yeah, Black people have a lot of money. Here's how you get it. Here's how they think. Here's what they want. So you have to be at least as aware of yourself, at least as self-aware as other people are aware of you. If you have that awareness, if you're just paying attention, that goes a really long way when it comes to success. It's not just education and all that. I mean, education comes with paying attention. So, but remember this is where culture matters. This is why I wrote a lot about culture in my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. I wrote about culture because your culture determines what you pay attention to. So it is culture that leads you to say, hey, wait a minute, I could be sitting here paying attention to this rapper getting arrested in Amsterdam, but my culture, because I was raised in a certain way or because we have certain beliefs, my culture says that me focusing on feeding my children and preparing for the future is more important than me sitting here watching Nicki Minaj go back and forth with this customs agent or whatever it was. You understand? So culture is everything. And so when they taint and they deplete your culture, when they make your culture toxic, what they're doing is they are peeing in the Kool-Aid in every other aspect of your life. When they taint the culture, they are ruining your mental health. When they taint the culture, they're ruining your physical health. When they taint the culture, they're ruining your educational process. When they taint the culture, they're destroying your wealth. So you have to really be conscious of the culture and then be conscious of which parts of the culture you have to fix. And culture is also kind of like a bubble where it doesn't matter so much what everybody else is doing. You can have your own culture in your own life and in your own family, and that's the culture that you're committed to. So the question I would ask you today, maybe as kind of a closing remark on this, would be, what is your culture? And just what is it? Is your culture hard work or is it laziness? Is your culture health or is it a lack of health? Is your culture, is your culture building wealth economically, or is your culture one that involves spending and wastefulness? Is your culture pro-family or is it anti-family? Is your culture one that supports and sustains and loves Black women and Black men, or is your culture one that is the opposite of that, right? That where you'd rather fight with a Black woman than to figure out how to get along with her, right? So ask yourself, what is your culture? And the parts of your culture that you don't like, I think like a surgeon, you gotta isolate that and fix that, right? That might mean through therapy, it might mean through some sort of education, it might mean some sort of meditation, self-awareness, or whatever, because all of us have some part of our culture that's a little bit tainted that needs to be fixed. And if you fix that, then the culture will shape your values. Your values will shape what you pay attention to. What you pay attention to will shape what goes into your mind. What goes into your mind will shape your actions, and then your actions will shape your world. You follow me? Give me a yes if you follow what I'm saying. This is extremely important. And this is how I believe economics and stuff is best taught. It's not so much about me teaching you like what to do. It's really us understanding how it all connects, how the dots connect. Okay. Because your life is yours. The world is yours. Possibilities belong to you. All this out here is yours. It's supposed to be yours. You just have to be willing to do the work to be able to go get it. Create the right culture. You will have the right success. I promise you that with everything I got. All right, guys, I'm going to go. So, by the way, make sure you're on the text list if you want to get notification when we do Money in the Morning. We do this every morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. Text the word morning to 87948. You can text the word morning to the phone number 87948. Also, I don't know if you all got that list. I sent out a list of cannabis stocks yesterday that you can take a look at. So feel free to take a look at that. And then also there was another list of stocks that you can buy for under $10. And what I'll do is I'll put that in the chat. The cannabis list I don't have, but the other list I do have in front of me. So I'll put this in the chat in case you don't have it. And so I know some of you are looking to get started with investing, and I can tell you that stock market investing literally is the number one definer of who's wealthy in America and who's not. The stock market is just a place that you don't want to ignore if your goal is to build wealth. So get in there, just do the basics. Be patient. Don't be scared. It's not as scary as you think. All right, so here is a list of stocks that you can buy for under $10. So I'll put that in the chat. So you guys can feel free to take a look at that. And what else? Also, my book. Some of you are asking about my book. It's called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. If you go to drboycebooks.com, you can find my book. You can also find our financial flashcards for kids. I know summertime's coming, so some of you have kids that need something that they should be paying attention to. So the flashcards would be a great place to get them started. One thing I would encourage you to really understand is that really doing very little things, little tiny things at an early age will make a big difference. And one of the other things, the other reasons I was thinking about Gen Zers and millennials and all that is because at some point your child's going to be in their 20s or their 30s or whatever. And I just really want you to just kind of know, like, it doesn't have to be this way. You know, all this suffering and all this struggling and all this stuff, it doesn't have to be this way. I was talking to Jasmine, who is a young lady my wife works with, and she's staying in our house right now in LA. And she was mentioning something about how she worked at this bank and she got a chance to see like these people's like financial stuff, like their bank statements and everything. And she said, I couldn't believe how much money some of these like white folks have. She said, now I know why Jasmine's not stressed because, you know, or Tiffany's not stressed or whatever, because she's got $700,000 in her trust fund. And so a lot of problems are solved if you simply have a culture where the parents understand the obligation of investing for the youth, right? If the parents just are investing even the amount of money that we spend on fast food, if you do that for a newborn baby, that little baby is going to have a much easier life. All these struggles that millennials go through will not be their story. And all it takes is for you to love your child as much as you love fast food. You know, do you love your child more than you love McDonald's? Are you willing to sacrifice for that? Or are you a parent that culturally is trained to where you'll spend $1,000 for your child to go to football camp and basketball camp, but won't put that same amount into some sort of investment fund for them? I don't understand that. I understand it, but I don't, right? I understand where it comes from, but I don't understand it because it's simple. It's not a complex idea. So by just investing for your child, and we also talk about financial literacy, there's very easy to make sure your child has basic financial literacy by a certain age. In the Black Business School, we can help you. Black Millionaires of Tomorrow, we have stuff like that. Or if you go to be1millionaires.com, be the number one millionaires.com, there's some literally free stuff you can get started with to begin the process, right? Be1millionaires.com. There's stuff out there, right? So get the financial literacy, make the investment, teach them the discipline. That's the KID model: knowledge, investment, discipline. All these problems go away. Your child doesn't, all these complaints that Gen Zers have and everything completely goes away. So just be smart, and let's get that done. All right. So by the way, I see some of you are wishing Dr. Alicia a happy birthday. She's still asleep. I don't know if she can hear, but I will tell her that you wish her a happy birthday. So thank you very much for that. And also her website is coachingwithdralicia.com. So if you ever need a therapist or something, she's very good at what she does. She's really committed to. In fact, she's so good that she trains other therapists how to be therapists. And I like to brag. I hope that doesn't sound weird, but I like bragging about my wife because I think that I don't know if we are good at. I don't know. I kind of think if you love a woman, you should brag about it. If you love your man, you should brag about your man. It makes them feel good and it makes you feel better, and it's just the right thing to do. So I brag about my wife all the time because I'm proud of her because I see how hard she works. So for those of you, and I'm also proud of you, if you're a hardworking person, keep working hard, keep hustling, keep pushing, and your rewards will come. So anyway, have a good day, everybody. God bless you, and I will see you all tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. Make sure you get on the text list. Text morning to 87948, and you'll get a.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? What's going on? I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. Today on drboycetv.com, we're going to talk about this interesting story that I just read about a mother who felt the need to spend $16,000 on her daughter's prom. Now, we're not here to shame the mother. We're not here to shame the daughter. Certainly, we're just here to kind of analyze this and think this through. And I'm going to just let you know what I see. And I'm going to be honest. And so I hope that that's okay. So anyway, get comfortable, buckle up your seatbelt. We're going to get started on drboycetv.com right now.
Here we are, acclaimed the isms, cataclysm, great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to co-sign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I want to say hello to everybody, and I see Vic FM. You're the first one in here, and he says, I love you, and I hope you're having a great weekend. Well, same to you, brother. Love you, too. Thank you. And let me know if you guys can hear me okay. Give me a yes if you can hear me. I am traveling with my family, and my wife brought me out here to sunny California, and we brought the kids, and so you know how it is when you stay in a different location. You got the Wi-Fi issues and everything. So give me a yes, give me a quick yes if you can hear me. I want to make sure I'm coming through all right. What's going on, Shirley Harrell, Athea Muhammad, London Miss, Roxana Green, TC, Doris Daniels? Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. All right. And and as we get started, before we get started, I want to remind everybody, you guys know we do financial consciousness training or economic awareness training every single morning at 10 a.m. It's 100% free in the Black Business School because I really want us to elevate our economic awareness. If you can't see the money, you can't be the money. So economic awareness training, EAT, means I'm going to show you how to eat so everybody can eat. So if you want to eat, then you got to be able to see the food. And that's what we do every single morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. It's 100% free. It's just all I ask is that you bring your family. So if you want to join, text the word morning to 87948. Text morning to 87948. Or if you live in another country, just go to drboyceelevate.com. That's drboyceelevate.com. So let's elevate our consciousness so we can understand things. Now, I'm going to do a quick straw poll. I saw this story that was really interesting. There was a prom where basically the mom, because she did not have a prom of her own, because she was feeling, I guess, emotional about what happened to her, She really went all out for her daughter. She spent 16 grand on her daughter's prom. And I'd be curious to know, what do y'all think? Like, give me a yes or no. Give me a yes if you think everything's cool. It's not a big deal. We're overreacting. It's her business. It's fine. And give me a no if you think, I feel a little bit weird. Like this is a lot. This is a little bit too much. How about, did anybody in here? I'll be curious. Did any of y'all spend anything close to 16 grand on your prom? Does anybody? I mean, again, I'm not even gonna sound like a Gen Xer. I'm gonna sound like a boomer right now. Okay, I'm gonna sound like a boomer. What the hell's going on with these kids at these crazy proms? Have you seen how they've been flexing at their proms? Like I saw a guy who pulled up. He had a police escort, like the president of the United States. So the police escort comes through with 4 police motorcycles with their sirens on. And then he had a group of cheerleaders that were walking behind the police escort with their pom-poms. And then he pulls up in a Tesla Cybertruck. Like, what's going on right now? Like, is this like the flex on them Olympics? Like, is that what we're doing now? Is this our new competition? Like, did I miss the memo? Because I got to show y'all pictures of my proms. I had a couple of nickels to rub together. I had to buy my suit and my girlfriend's dress. And my parents didn't know that my girlfriend was pregnant. So we had to get a little bit of a extra large kind of dress. I mean, they just thought she was gaining weight. They thought I liked big girls or something. And that's how we did it, man. We didn't we didn't do all this crazy stuff. I don't know. So I don't know. I find it interesting, right? And I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to talk bad about anybody. So let's just keep that 100% clear. I think we can have an honest conversation without it being either enabling of unhealthy financial behavior, but also without it being just, nasty and cold. And because we don't know this lady's business. For all we know, $16,000 might be nothing but a thing to her. She might be somebody that might spend 16 grand going on vacation. She might be a multimillionaire. She might have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in the bank. And there are people who do this. If Kim Kardashian can look fancy and buy luxury items, then why can't a black girl have these things, right? So nothing wrong with that at all. I want to make that 100% clear. Okay, so give me a yes if you agree. We can have this conversation in love without it just being a nasty gossip fest. Okay, all right. So let's jump into some of this, right? And let's just talk about some things to sort of factor here, really from an economic awareness standpoint. When you're talking about proms and you're talking about economic awareness, this really is something, and we do our economic awareness training every morning. This is really where you're able to kind of understand and see just how wealth works and where your money's going. We can see why Black people have less wealth than other groups. We can see why the Asian and Jewish communities have the highest incomes and the highest wealth levels. We can see why Black consumption patterns are a little bit disturbing and how they're influenced by things like hip hop culture, right? Because for 30 years, these poor kids are growing up in an environment where rappers have done nothing but flex on them every single day. They constantly, drive up in these fake, these cars that they rented from somebody with rented jewelry in a rented house, and they give you a false fake lifestyle that makes you think that somehow you got to live like that. And if you're not living like that, then you're not a quality person. Quality of individuals, in my view, should be measured by how hardworking you are, how smart you are, whether you're a good person or a bad person. Do you have goals? Do you treat people well? Instead, we rank quality of people by how much European shit you got on your body, like how much Gucci you got, dog. How much? I saw you wearing Louis. I saw you wearing Prada. And it's the funny thing to me is that these European companies, they don't even hardly like Black people that much. They don't even like you, but you give all your wealth to these people that don't like you to impress people who probably don't like you either. And I do think that is something worth at least being conscious and aware of. So what tends to occur, in my view, is with these proms kind of getting outrageous, I think that what's happening is that kids are putting pressure on other kids. And I think that the kids are feeling like they have to go above and beyond to show off at prom. So rather than being evaluated favorably because you made good grades or because you have a big goals for the future, people just look at what kind of car you're driving. And I'm gonna tell you what the car you're driving, the clothes you're wearing don't mean nothing in terms of what kind of person you are. It means nothing. I know people that have lots of money who are just complete scumbags, who don't even take care of their kids, who are horrible human beings, who are dumb as bricks, who are lazy as hell. And there is no reason that a person should be evaluated on a higher scale just because they're showing up with a bunch of fancy stuff. Also, you don't show your wealth by throwing your wealth away. Throwing your wealth away is not a flex. It is not a flex to say, hey, I'm doing really well financially, and I'm going to prove it to you by giving all my money away to white people. That's not a flex. What that shows is some sort of deeply embedded insecurity that you have. What it shows is that you don't feel confident and comfortable enough in your own skin that you have to spend money to buy self-esteem. You have to spend money to buy esteem from others. You have to spend money. You have to give your money away in order for you to feel complete, to feel human. And I just don't understand why that is not something that isn't discussed more regularly. Maybe it's because we just don't always have what we need to do that. And maybe I'm overthinking it because I'm a finance professor and my wife is a therapist. So as so imagine a finance professor laying in bed with a social work PhD who's a licensed therapist and analyzing these things. We come to these awkward insights that may sound strange on the forefront, but I think it really speaks to a need for healing in the community to help us get where we got to get to. Now, do me a favor, please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. You're watching drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. If this is your first time here, I hope that you will join us and hang out with us because we are the best on earth when it comes to Black wealth and Black economics. We don't play. We are extremely good at what we do. And I was on the faculty at Syracuse University for 13 years. I taught at the Ohio State University, University of Kentucky, et cetera. And our goal is to make Black people the most intelligent economic group of people on the planet, at least those who want to listen. And I speak to you every single day because I'm serious about this too. So we're talking about spending on proms and overspending. Now, when I think about proms and I look at kids flexing out on their proms and going crazy, rolling up in Camels and Bugattis and everything else, it makes me think about that next step, the bigger version of the prom, which is called the wedding. And I thought about how much people spend on weddings. And I think that there's a connection there, right? There's a connection between just basically this idea that you're having this big event where you're showing off for a bunch of other people, right? You're spending a bunch of money so that other people can be comfortable and happy. I mean, because think about it. If you're giving away all your money, you're not comfortable. If you just spent your last nickel and you're looking at your bank account and you got 45 cents in it because you spent everything, or you're thousands in debt, you're not comfortable. So the money that you spend on a wedding or a prom, that's not really for you. That's not really for you. Let me know if you know what I'm saying. Give me a yes, you understand what I'm saying. It's not for you. It's not for you. The money that you're spending is for other people. The money that you're spending is not for you. It's for other people who are looking at you. It's for their pleasure, not for yours. So when you go and you overspend on a prom, a wedding, or any other big event that's kind of a one-day thing, flash in the pan, I think you really might want to take some time to really say, like, why am I doing this? Because if you talk specifically about weddings, let me tell you this as a married man. Weddings are beautiful. Weddings are wonderful. Weddings are necessary for a community that wants to build on itself. You have to have families for your community to be strong. You cannot have a strong family with 10 million baby mamas and baby daddies. It just won't work. Let me know if you get what I'm saying. I hope you all agree with me. I hope I don't sound old-fashioned by saying that the only way Black people can really succeed is if Black men and Black women support each other. I hope I don't sound crazy by saying that if Black women don't gain respect for Black men and Black men don't maintain respect for Black women, that we're going to fail. I hope I hope you can agree with me on this. So when you're talking about marriage and weddings and all that, that's necessary in order for your community to thrive. You need to form these bonds and these institutions that allow your children to be safe in a nurturing environment and to grow into the people that they're supposed to be. But in my view, and this is my humble opinion, I think that there's not enough work sort of separating the wedding from the marriage. A lot of people want to have a wedding, but they don't really want to be married. You understand what I'm saying? Just like a lot of people want to have sex, but don't nobody really want to raise no kids. Getting married is very different from staying married. Having a wedding is very different from having a 20, 30, 40-year marriage. When I married my wife, I went to the OGs. I went to the people. I didn't go to the internet and listen to some cute little influencer who says everything that I want to hear. That's what people do. They go and they women will get on they're all 10 million women will follow some guy who's saying that the only reason a man don't want you is because these men is too weak. They too weak. They don't know us. They can't handle a strong woman like you. And you're like, yeah, that's right, girl. And then there's some guy, some good looking guy, probably got a beard and some dreads, telling women, or say whispering sweet nothings in women's ear, or some lady, with a boobs out, telling men like these women are out of pocket. These women need to stop. And these women, they don't appreciate a good man. They don't know how to treat no man, and then all the men are like, that's right, queen. Thank you, queen. I appreciate you, queen. Right. I get it. Right. But these are not your people that should be advising you on relationships. The people that should be advising you on relationships are your grandparents, because your grandparents got married in 1962 and they've been married ever since. Those are your scholars. Those are your romantic intellectuals. Those are the people that can tell you how to build something and make it last. So here's the deal with weddings. This is interesting. A lot of you may not know these financial facts about weddings, so let me share a couple with you. I don't know if you all know this, but let me see. I pulled up some studies here. Basically, the average wedding in 2023, the average wedding was about $30,000. Secondly, 28% of all couples go into debt to pay for their wedding, and the debt usually amounts to $11,737. That's a lot of debt. So you're literally, so you get married, you're taking on another student loan, and then some people they get a divorce before the debt's even paid off. They found also that 45% of couples that's nearly half of all couples who financed their wedding with loans or credit cards reported struggling to pay off the wedding-related debt. And I haven't even talked about the high divorce rate. I haven't even talked about how many of these couples don't even last. So effectively, when I see extravagant spending on a prom, it reminds me of the extravagant spending on the wedding, because what you're really doing is you're giving yourself some sort of emotional orgasm that is not in any way connected to the actual act of doing something that's actually lasting in long term. Marriage and things like that require discipline. Whereas getting married or blowing your financial back out at your prom or whatever, that doesn't require discipline at all. That's just a feel-good moment that you're sacrificing your financial future for. Now, do me a favor, everybody. Please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. You're watching drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. And I hope you'll allow me to thank a sister who is supporting the Black Business School and helping us to do this podcast. And her website is ericatree.com. So if you're a parent, there's an amazing resource for you. There's a 30-day ninja cursive workbook that was inspired by a student named Patrick, who asked Miss Latanya Williams to teach him cursive so he could compete in chalkboard game wars. This workbook does more than just help students write. It boosts their memory, reading fluency, spatial awareness, and hand-eye coordination. And this is important because I don't know if you know how bad the public schools are. They're absolutely terrible. They're not educating our kids. They're not doing right by them. In Chicago public schools, the vast majority of the children can't read, write, or do math at grade level. So let me know if you agree with me that we need to educate our own kids. So this sister's doing this, Miss Latanya Williams, that's her name. The digital download is $39.99 at ericatree.com. That's RECA-tree.com. So that's a great deal. The physical product on Amazon is $54.99. So if you want to save some money, you can get the digital download at ericatree.com and teach your kids cursive. My mama was complaining about that. My mama was like, they don't even teach the babies how to write cursive no more. When I get on the phone with my mama, she got a whole laundry list of rants, because my mama got me through the public school system. This terrible public school system. They love to take little Black boys like me, who probably have a touch of ADHD. I do, because my brain is very active. And rather than seeing that as an asset, rather than seeing me as somebody who maybe has a lot of good ideas, who's a good thinker, they look at you and they say, okay, we got to put him on medication. And I think that the reason that they're so quick to put Black boys on medication, they over-medicate us, is because they want to control us. Every week we do Powernomics training where we read Dr. Claude Anderson books. And if you read a Dr. Claude Anderson book like Black Labor, White Wealth, which you can find at powernomics.com, you'll find that historically the goal was always to control and contain Black people. And they always had a fear of active Black males. They had a fear of courageous Black men. They had a fear of intelligent Black men. So when your son shows up as an intelligent Black boy, their first goal is like, okay, how do we control this guy and get him to do what we're telling him to do? And I'm glad my mother encouraged me to be the rebel that I am, because if I'd done what they told me to do, I wouldn't be a shadow of the man that I am today. So shout out to all the mothers and the fathers who are defending your children. Shout out to all the parents that are teaching your own kids, and whenever you can. You don't have to take them out of school, but you should be teaching them. And shout out to everybody who understands what I'm talking about, because this brainwashing runs pretty deep. Now let's go back here. Let's talk about this this lady, this very nice, loving mom. I'm gonna call her the loving mom. She's not, I'm not gonna say anything bad about her, but she spent $16,000 on her daughter's prom. And part of the reason that she did it is because she said she didn't have a prom herself. At least that's the headline I read. I think it was on Shade Room or something, right? So I don't know this lady's complete story. I just know that $16,000 number was pretty amazing. I bet you there are lots of parents who did the same thing. And one of the things that was really interesting to me that really stood out, and this is the kind of thing we will be talking about in our economic awareness training, is that she mentioned the reason that she felt the need to spend this money is because she had this emotional void. And the emotional void came from what seems to be a type of trauma. And again, my wife is my wife is certified in trauma. So I have to double check to make sure that this will qualify as a trauma. But there was this trauma of missing her own prom. And this is something that clearly has stuck with her. She doesn't look old. Y'all know black don't crack. She's looking like she's 28 or 29, but she's probably about 40 something. Y'all know how y'all black women are. Y'all the most beautiful creatures on the planet. Her daughter's beautiful as well. And what I was seeing here is this almost like this horrible experience she went through that she could not get over, that has shaped her financial choices 20, 30, 40 years later. And this is really interesting to me because in the Black Business School, we have the first ever Black financial therapy department where we talk about how these traumas affect your economic choices. And my wife helped me to actually put this together because trauma is huge in terms of Black spending patterns. Trauma is huge when it comes to Black investing patterns. Trauma is huge when it comes to the amount of financial anxiety in the Black community, when it comes to just the way we view money, the way we spend our money, the way we invest our money. When even someone who sells their stocks really quick, the minute they see something go wrong and they lose a bunch of money because they don't hold on for the recovery, a lot of that's driven by trauma. Trauma creates these trauma responses, these trauma triggers, right? So one thing that's interesting to me, and I want you to process this, is that there are people who profit from Black trauma. There are people that profit by getting things out of Black people by basically sort of triggering whatever negative experience you might have had. Like, for example, if you notice politicians, when they're trying to get your vote, the biggest thing they typically do is they try to scare you into voting for them. They don't tell you why they're going to help you. They tell you why the other party is terrible and they're going to put you all in chains and all this, right? And so I think about this trauma in terms of how it shaped this mother's need. Like somehow she felt that the way I can show love to my daughter and the way I can heal a little bit is by spending all this money. And I wonder if there would have been a less expensive way for her to heal and overcome the experience. Because think about this. This really says to me that if this mother had had a prom, pay attention now, if this mother had had her prom, she wouldn't have felt the need to spend $16,000 to overcompensate for a trauma that she cannot reverse. Do you understand? Let me know if y'all follow what I'm saying. I hope I'm not getting too deep on you with this. But so that is something where this goes back to the fact that, when we talk about things like therapy and healing, if you're properly healed, then that will actually help you financially. A person who is healed, where their self-esteem is intact, for example, they don't need to buy luxury items to feel better about themselves. They already feel good about themselves. Or if you think about a young lady, think about this, process it this way. If you think about young ladies who have low self-esteem, what do? What can happen out of that? Well, they when they go on the dating market, they date a bunch of creepy, crappy men, and they're giving these men access to things that money can't even buy, that money should not be able to buy. Well, why is that? Well, partly it's because they don't value what they have. They don't value who they are. So a person with low self-esteem becomes an easy target for somebody that's seeking to exploit them, or somebody who doesn't know who they are, or somebody who's gone through something, right? So effectively what I'm saying is that with this lady, because she has not healed from this thing that happened maybe 20 or 25 years ago, is spending money as a way to feel better about what happened in her problem. Like it was bad for me. I'm going to make it better for my daughter. I'm going to take this full circle. We're going to make this right. And I really don't know if that's the most efficient way to do it. And so, in fact, let me kind of lay out some possibilities in terms of just considerations on why people might overspend either on a prom or a wedding. Again, I put proms and weddings kind of in the same category. These are these one-time events that we get really excited about, and we put so much money into that. And what we don't understand is that when you spend $16,000 on a prom, you're giving up 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, $100,000 worth of economic opportunity. Remember, money is a seed. Money is a lot of things, but one thing money is money's a seed. You plant seeds. Seeds get planted. Planted seeds grow. Seeds that get eaten do not grow. So when you consume, you are eating your seeds. Do you understand? When you eat your seeds, the seeds do not grow. The seed cannot grow if you've eaten it. So when you take your money and you consume, you eat. Then what occurs is that you have destroyed the potential of what that money could have become. So let me give you some examples. So let's say that this mom had taken the 16,000 and said, you know what, I love you and I want you to have a nice prom. So we're going to spend about 1,000 on the prom, but we're going to take the rest of that money and we're going to put it toward your future. Well, what could she have done with that? Well, number one, $60,000 could have been a 20% down payment on a property, or maybe a 10% down payment on a $160,000 property. If that property accumulated value of even a modest rate of say 3% per year, by the time your daughter's 40, she's got a property worth over $300,000. Do you understand? So when you spent the 16,000, the daughter misses the 300,000. Again, you went for the little reward, but you could have got the big one. I'm not making fun of it. I'm just telling you the truth. What else? Let's say y'all know I love the stock market. Well, if you take that 16,000 and you put the 16,000 in a regular S&P 500 fund, which we show you how to do at blackwealthmasterplan.com. It's totally free. Go to blackwealthmasterplan.com, and that's our $5 a day plan. You'd be amazed at how much money grows when you let it grow. You'd also be amazed by how much money doesn't grow when you kill it. And killing it is spending it. When you spend it, you're killing your potential. So let's see what would have happened if she'd taken that 16 grand and put it in an S&P 500 index fund. By the time her daughter was 40 years old, she would have $86,776. So again, you didn't spend 16,000, you spent 86,000 when you spent money on this prom. What else could she have done? You could have put money in, say, a 529 plan or something like that. The 529 plan also grows. It's a way to kind of save for college, right? So again, I'm not assuming the mother didn't do all these things, right? She may have done all these things. She may have the 529 plan in place. She may have the stock portfolio in place. She may have her daughter in position to own real estate. She may have done all these things. But here's my point. If any of these things have not yet been done, that concerns me, because I get concerned when I see us having just sort of embracing a culture where we blow the whole bag before we get a chance to really have anything, right? This instant gratification culture is very anti-wealth. The instant gratification culture is being heavily promoted through things like hip hop. And I'm sorry, rappers, my buddy Killer Mike, he texted me one time. He said, hey, Doc, we want you to lay off the rappers. We don't want people to think you don't like rappers. I said, I do like rappers. What are you talking about? I'm friends with a lot of rappers. Immortal Technique, I love that guy. He's a great guy. D1, love D1. Willie D from the Ghetto Boys was in my wedding. One of my best friends, Ice Cube, is my friend. I have a lot of friends that are in hip hop, so I don't dislike rappers. What I'm saying, though, is that hip hop culture, the bastardization of it, creates a space of where instant gratification is glorified. Where looking good, pay attention now, looking good is more important than actually being good. And there are a lot of people who look great on the outside, but they are torn to pieces on the inside. They are torn to shreds on the inside, but you looking fly on the outside, so you think everything's okay. I don't want you to just look good on the outside. I want you feeling good on the inside. I want you to heal. I don't want you just to appear to be financially secure. I want you to really be financially secure. Ain't no future in the fronting. Remember MC Breed? Ain't no future in the fronting. So why are we fronting? Why are you trying to look good for all these other people, but you can't look good for yourself? Because you got to look in the mirror. You know what you really look like. You know what you really look like. When you take off the clown mask, you know what you look like. When you take off the makeup, you know what you look like. But the whole world is full of people that are forced to wear clown masks and makeup so they can pretend to be something that they're not, because the hard work is not as glamorous as the easy fix and the easy flex. It's much harder to get up and go to the gym every day than it is to just take some Ozempic pills and make all the weight kind of just fall off. So a lot of times the microwave culture, the instant gratification culture, which is very anti-wealth, very anti-community, very anti-Black, is something that is pushed heavily on our children. And I feel bad for them because many of them do not have a chance. They do not have a chance. How are you going to compete in society when the educational system screwed you out of an education? How are you going to compete in society when you don't even have a stable family to begin with? You can't even grow. You're like a flower trying to grow in unstable soil. How are you going to compete in the world when nobody sat you down and taught you about the basics of economics? It's very difficult. So we got to stop setting our kids up for failure, man. That's what I'm saying. You know, again, $16,000 prom, it is what it is, right? Again, I don't know nothing about this lady's business. She might have $1 million in the bank. I bless her. I hope they had a good time that night. But I really kind of think we got to really analyze the culture if we really want to understand and analyze our economics. So anyway, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. You're watching drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. And I want to also give a quick shout out, if you will allow me to, as you hit the thumbs up button, to our sister who runs ericatree.com. Her name is Miss Latanya Williams, and she has a daily phonics book that's a must-have for your child's early literacy development. It was inspired by legendary educators like Marva Collins and Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu. It reinforces the 44 sounds of the English language, boosting fluency and phonemic awareness. Help your child build a strong foundation in reading today. And you can go to ericatree.com to check out some of her products. This particular link, I can, you know what, I'm going to send out Dr. or Miss Latanya's direct links to her products via text to you. If you get on a text list for Money in the Morning, just text the word morning to 87948, and I'll send you a link to her phonics product. It's a kind of a long bit.ly link, and I can't really recite it. Her main website is ericatree.com, ARECA-tree.com. But I can send you the link to this second product that she mentioned, because it sounds like this sister's really doing the thing. My mother talks about Marva Collins all the time. Does anybody know? Give me a yes or no if you've heard of Marva Collins. Does anybody know who Marva Collins is? Because if you don't know who Marva Collins is, I really need you to know who she was. Marva Collins was one of the greatest educators ever. Marva Collins, from what my mother said, she started a school in the projects. Like this, I mean, this lady did not play. This lady, she started a school in the projects. See, and y'all, some of y'all in here, 7-figure Negroes driving luxury cars with fancy jobs. Some white man that gave you a fancy job. But the problem is you ain't doing the job. You're not doing the job. You got the fancy car and the fancy job, but Marva Collins was in the projects doing the damn job. My mother talks about Marva Collins all the time because Marva came to speak at the there's this group that I owe my life to called Black Achievers in Louisville, Kentucky. And in fact, I love them so much. Me and my wife made a $20,000 donation a couple years ago, and that's not even a drop in the bucket compared to what they gave me. I really should have given them a $2 billion donation because they literally saved my life. And Marva Collins gave the speech, and she was standing in front of a lot of really fancy, well-dressed Black people in this really nice hotel. And she just went off. She literally, my mother said, she said that she gave that speech. She said, "How dare you? How dare you sit up here in your comfortable clothes, in your comfortable hotel, looking all fancy when our children are suffering. Our children are not being taught to read. Our children are not being properly educated. Our children are not being prepared for the future. And you're sitting here acting like everything's okay." So I'm going to just tell you, Marva Collins, based on the stories of my mama, she was just this woman. Like, you talk about people that need to be Black heroes. See, y'all got to stop letting these white folks tell you who your heroes are supposed to be, because they're always going to guide you in the wrong direction. If I ask for directions from somebody who does not like me, he's going to guide me right to the place that I'm going to get shot and killed or something, right? So don't stop letting people set you up for nonsense. Like, go look up Marva Collins. If you don't know who this sister is, look her up, because Marva Collins, to me, really shows the potential of what we can do when we know what the job is, when we understand the assignment. And she understood the assignment. I mean, she really started a school. From what I understand, she started a school in the projects. There she is on the screen. And she educated kids better than the whole damn Chicago public school system. I'm going to read a little bit of her bio real quick, because I think that she deserves our respect. So Marva Collins was an influential American educator, best known for her work in improving education of disadvantaged children. Born August 31st, 1936 in Monroeville, Alabama, born in the Deep South with all that stifling racism, right, that's supposed to destroy you. She gained national recognition for her innovative teaching methods and dedication to student success. In 1975, Collins founded the West Side Preparatory School in Chicago, Illinois, with a focus on providing high-quality education to African-American children from impoverished backgrounds. Her approach emphasized high expectations, a rigorous curriculum, and a nurturing environment. Pay attention, Black people. Are you listening to me? Are you listening? Did y'all hear what I just said? They said that her educational process emphasized high expectations, a rigorous curriculum, and a nurturing environment. So I'm going to ask y'all this question. Let's talk about Chicago public schools, or we could talk about Philadelphia public schools, or we could talk about New York public schools. When it comes to Black children in these public school systems, do they have high expectations for Black children? Yes or no? Do you think that they set high expectations for our kids, or do you think they set low expectations for our children? That's the first question. Second question. She mentioned a rigorous curriculum. Would you agree, yes or no, that Black children who go through most public school systems are the beneficiaries of a rigorous curriculum that prepares them for life, where they're reading and doing math and science at the highest levels and prepared to succeed at anything that they choose to do in life? Yes or no? What do you think? Do you think that they give the Black kids, little Black boys, little crazy Black boys like me, the rigorous curriculum, or you think they give us some old BS, some old bull spit? What do you think? Now let's go to the third element that they mentioned here, a nurturing environment. Yes or no? Do you think that our children in the public school system are the recipients of a nurturing environment? What do y'all think? Or are they pretty much given prison on training wheels? The school to prison pipeline is very real. Prisons and schools are very similar. And it's kind of crazy that we think that that's okay. It's kind of crazy that we look at this and we say, oh yeah, my kid's going to school and I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. No, you're not. So Marvin Collins set the standard, and you can either face the challenge or run away from the challenge. You know, you can look up to people like Diddy if you want to, somebody who might who might try to take your daughter's booty and your son's booty at the same time. You can look up to people like that. People who spend their time being clowns for a living and dancing and singing and all that. Or you can look up to people like Marvin Collins or Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu. I met Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu one time. I loved him. He's as great in person as he is as he is publicly. These are your heroes, people. These are the people that we want to learn from. So let's finish up this conversation here. So we were talking about this sister who spent $16,000, or her mother spent $16,000 on the prom. And the little girl went to the prom and had a great time, I'm sure. The $16,000 in general, I would say, might be a bit much for a prom. But then again, though, I think that it becomes kind of a weird dilemma, because do we have the right to really tell anybody what they should spend on the prom? All of us have spending habits on things that we just want to enjoy, right? And I think that when it comes to money, I think you can be financially literate, financially secure, and financially intelligent without it always coming down to you beating yourself up because you got coffee at Starbucks, or getting mad at yourself because you decided you wanted to get a luxury car. A lot of people will tell you this. A lot of the financial gurus who didn't go to school that long on the internet will beat you up all day about all the little expenditures that you have and all the little ways that you spend money. And I can tell you as a finance professor that a lot of that stuff is BS. A lot of it's silly. Basically, being financially secure and financially intelligent doesn't mean that you can't splurge. It does not mean that you can't enjoy your life. It does not mean you can't have nice stuff. You deserve nice stuff. You deserve a nice life. What it just means is that you have to have that work hard, play hard kind of mindset. The problem is not so much that young kids want to have nice stuff. It's that some of them ain't trained to work for it. They don't understand the sacrifice required to even get to a point where you deserve to lean back and kind of chill a little bit. Some people come into life chilling, and I don't understand that. I'm just gonna tell you, I probably sound old fashioned, but I don't get that. How you gonna start off chilling at 18? How are you 18 and you going into retirement already? And I don't understand that, right? Because I do think that there is something to be said about hard work, planning, perseverance, education, all these other values. Those tend to be the characteristics that are common in cultures that are successful. So if you were to pay attention to things that you see on, say, the Shade Room or places like that, you see the remnants of a really, really toxic, unhealthy culture. What do you see? You see unhealthy relationships, lots of baby mama, baby daddy drama every other day. You see lots of materialism, lots of shallow behavior, right? Like, I'm doing well because I'm a famous rapper that's wearing Gucci and riding in a limo, But the reason I have 8,000 tattoos on my body, with a couple of them being teardrops, and the reason that I passed out at my last concert is because I got a drug addiction, an alcohol addiction, and I slept with 3,000 women. So not only have I received every STD in the book, but I'm giving STDs to your daughters because your daughters have been falsely led into being attracted to toxic, horrific men like myself, which is, to me, just one of the most sinister things that the racists can do to the black man and to the black woman. The most horrible thing that they have done to us is to take people that are unhealthy and elevate them as your success stories. Do you understand what I'm saying? To really take people. I mean, have you ever looked at some of the guys and the women that are just on, go to like the Shade Room. I follow the Shade Room because I like to see what young people are looking at. I like to see what they're looking up to. And I say, gosh, that person looks physically and mentally unhealthy, but somehow people think that that person is a hero or a leader. Oh, wow, that person is ignorant as hell. They probably can't even read, but somehow the kids look at that and say, I want to be just like that when I grow up. Wow, that person is really wasting a lot of money. They're probably in a really bad financial situation, or they're going to be, but yet we look at that and we say, wow, look at how successful they are. Those are not your success stories. Those just aren't, and I really think that this whole phenomenon of overspending at prom, spending like a damn buffoon is, and I'm not calling this lady a buffoon. I'm just saying that some of this stuff is kind of crazy. There's a history to this, by the way. If you read Dr. Claude Anderson books, which are at powernomics.com, in his book, Black Labor, White Wealth, he explains that historically, the Negro has been seen as this outrageous, almost like a cartoon character kind of person, right? Just like this person that's going to be outlandish, that's dancing and singing and smiling and doing the minstrel show all the time, that's always like trying to be the life of the party because he wants to impress massa. And then Massa will give him rewards. Massa will give him extra butter biscuits and everything else because he was dancing and singing so loud. And I thought about that when I saw Diddy. His son was on stage, and they took the music away, so it made it look even crazier. His son was dancing, and it was really weird because he was dancing just like his dad was dancing in like 1998. Exact same, very similar moves, very similar, like really exaggerated arm movements and all that. And I say, gosh, am I the only person who thinks that looks kind of clownish? Like, am I the only person who's kind of feeling uncomfortable about the fact that this is what the African-American male is known for throughout the world? I don't know. I mean, am I being too serious, or what do y'all think? I mean, because I just really kind of think it's something that we have to kind of process, because trying to sort of be outlandish in order to sing for your supper is I kind of think that's beneath us. I don't think that is dignified behavior. I don't think that is behavior that's going to get respect from other people, right? I don't think that that's going to make people say, golly, look at those African Americans. Those are some model citizens. They raise their kids properly. The black male, he's always intelligent. He's always prepared. He's always thinking about the future. He's always doing right by his family. He's just sturdy. He's just solid. You can rely on him to come through. I don't think they look at black men and think that way. I really don't. I don't, and I hate it. But that's what I think. I think that they look at black men and they say, "Oh, well, they don't get pregnant by a black man. He won't take care of the kids because he's irresponsible. He's like an animal. He's a buffoon. He's an idiot. He's a clown." That's what people say about you. That's what they say. That's just true. That's what they say. And I will personally say overall that we have to sort of look at the culture. Not because this is a culture that was created by us. This culture was not created by us. Even if you look at a guy like Diddy, who was really heavily influential in, quote unquote, the culture, he referenced the culture all the time. Remember, he was backed by people like Clive Davis. Without Clive Davis and these other people at the record labels, there would be no Diddy. There would be no Diddy out here if it wasn't for whoever was giving him money to fund the mass marketing of whatever he was doing on stage. So really, when I say let's challenge the culture, I'm not talking about challenging black culture. I'm really talking about challenging racist culture in blackface. And it's racist culture in blackface that I believe had a huge impact in the culture of our kids that feel like they got to spend $10,000, $20,000 at the prom just to not get made fun of. There's no reason, again, if kids want to go, if their parents want to go blow the whole bag on a prom, that's their right. But what I feel bad for are the kids whose parents are thinking, no, I don't want to spend $20,000 on your prom. We're going to spend $1,000 on your prom, and the other $19,000 is going to go into your investment portfolio. I don't want that kid to get made fun of by the loud clowns who spent $20,000. I don't want that to happen. And that's what occurs. That's what happens. You know, the smart kid gets made fun of. The kid who's thinking about the future gets made fun of. The kid who's serious about his life gets made fun of. And I think that that's wrong. I think we have to defend those children. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on the topic. I actually don't have much else to say about it. I want to say thank you guys for listening to me on this. I appreciate it. And I also want to give a quick thank you to Miss Latanya, who actually has some great products at ericatree.com or Erica Tree, I'm sorry, ARECA-tree.com. She has some great educational products. I hope you'll go take a look at that. If you want to educate your own kids, she also has products on financial literacy. She has products on that will teach your child cursive. She has products on the daily phonics, things like that. So feel free to go to that website and take a look at what the sisters got going on. Now, if you want to join us tomorrow morning, every single morning in the Black Business School, we do financial consciousness training, or what we call economic awareness training, where I show you just how to see the money, how to see the economics around you, how to see the possibility around you. It's totally free. I just ask that you pay attention and you bring your family. If you want to join us, text the word morning to 87948 on your phone. So just type in the word morning and text that to the number 87948. And if you live in another country, you can go to drboyceelevate.com and join us there. All right, guys, I'm out of here. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you had a great day. Have a great day. And I appreciate you. Take it easy. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.